Ready? All right, good evening. I'm going to call tonight's Caldwell City Council meeting for June 15th, 2026. It's just past 6 p.m. For all those that are here joining us, welcome. We have a lot on the agenda tonight. First on the agenda is going to be Captain Amy Lewis of the Salvation Army. Correction. Do we have an update for that? No, it didn't. Pastor Lockwood Frederick, please come forward. Thank you for being here tonight. All to stand, we're going to have an invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mayor Phillips, and thank you, City Council. Please join me in prayer. Our Father and our God, I thank you for the gift of life. Lord, you who are our Creator, thank you for the blessing of living in this country. Thank you for the freedoms that we have to gather together, to meet, and also to pray. And Lord, I thank you for these leaders. Thank you for their willingness to devote time and energy in leading this city. Lord, your word tells us in 1 Timothy chapter 2 that we are to pray and give thanks, particularly for those who are in positions of authority, that we may lead a tranquil and quiet life. And so I pray for our leaders in this room, Lord, that you would grant them wisdom and discernment to do what is good. I pray for this meeting, that your blessing would be upon the discussion and the decisions. And Lord, I thank you for this city. And I pray for our first responders, for our police department, for paramedics, firefighters. Lord, please protect them. And Father, all the honor and glory and power be unto you, and I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you for that, and thank you for the prayer tonight. Next, Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
She's not here. Here.
Sorry, where did our Madam Clerk go? All right, we'll start.
All right, here. Here. Mr. Mayor, I will be happy to stand in the place of the clerk.
Fair enough, thank you.
Councilor Tillmont.
Here.
Councilor Static.
Here.
Councilor Register.
Here.
Councilor Williams. Councilor Allgood.
Here.
Councilor Dittenber.
Here.
And just for those that should be aware now, Council Register is online right now. All right, next on the agenda is conflict of interest declarations. Are there any members who have a conflict of interest to declare related to any item on tonight's agenda? Council Register. All right, seeing none. All right, next we're going to start with special presentations. We will have Deer Flat National Wildlife Refuge to come present. Thank you, sir. Please come up.
Hello, council members. I was asked to come here by Mayor Phillips to give a short presentation on the refuge. I gave two options. I can give a 4-hour presentation or a 10-minute. So I was told 10 minutes is more appropriate. So I do think I have a slideshow, hopefully. No? You're killing me. All right, there we go. We're going to wing it. All right, so I'm the project leader, refuge manager at Deer Flat National Wildlife Refuge. A lot of folks often refer to the refuge as Lake Lowell. It is a national wildlife refuge. We were established in 1909 by Teddy Roosevelt. It started off as a single unit, which was the Lake Lowell unit, which after the New York Canal was completed, they declared it a national wildlife refuge 2 days later. Teddy Roosevelt recognized the importance of the refuge and what it was going to be to migratory birds in its stopover area, and still to this day, that's very true. In the 1930s, they added another refuge, the Snake River Islands, which consists of 104 islands on the Snake River. In the 1950s, they lumped them all together. And so today we do have two units. We have the Lake Lowell unit, which is comprised of a 9,000-acre lake, which is 6,000 acres of open water, and about 3,000 acres of riparian habitat. The riparian habitat really depends on the water levels and what year it is. And so sometimes it's no riparian habitat, and sometimes it's a lot of riparian habitat. This year we got a lot of it. We also have about 1,500 acres to about 2,000 acres of upland habitat that surround the lake. The Snake River Islands is 104 islands. It starts down by Celebration Park and goes all the way past Ontario, Oregon. Those islands are comprised, all put together, is about 1,000 acres of land. I did discover 2 weeks ago that one of them is completely underwater, so I think we're down to 103 islands. So the refuge, like I said, was established for migratory birds. It's come a long way since its inception. Today, we are considered, we were designated a flagship urban refuge. That happened, I think, 4 years ago. What that means is we are one of 8 refuges in the entire system of 560 some odd refuges. There's only 8 of us. We get an additional $1 million on top of our base budget to do community connections, infrastructure projects to make the refuge more safe and welcoming, and to, like I said, connect with our communities. And so since I've been at the refuge, we had a staff of 2. We now have a staff of, including myself, I think we have a staff of 8. And so we've come a long way. We're doing a lot of community connections. We try to do as much as we can in Caldwell, as much as we can in Nampa, and the entire Treasure Valley. In conjunction with that, we've been doing a lot of improvements on the refuge. I'm trying to make this relevant to the Caldwell side of things. So the Lower Dam Rec area would be the, hey, there we go. We got a presentation. You want to go through that next slide real fast? Oh, I got the clicker. There we go. Boom. I forgot to introduce myself. There we go. We're going to make this quick. A little bit about myself. I was born in Oregon, raised in Oklahoma, and lived all over. I spent 8.5 years in the Marine Corps. I got out of the Marine Corps. I went to Virginia Tech. I became a wildlife biologist. I've served as LaGuardia's airport wildlife biologist in New York City. I've climbed in the Condor Caves in California, and now I'm here as the refuge manager out here. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, I'm going to try to go fast since I already covered some of this. So there's some 500 odd refuges in the system, 560. It keeps changing every year. So we may be up to about 568. I'm a little out of date on those numbers. One thing of note that I would not have remembered if I hadn't got the slide, so thank you very much, is National Wildlife Refuges are the only federal land set aside for wildlife. We weren't set aside for people, we were set aside for wildlife. So you have the BLM, you have Forest Service, you have all these other federal agencies and federal land. They were set aside for both wildlife and people, and for the pleasure of the people. The National Wildlife Refuge System, we were set aside specifically for wildlife. Anything that happens at the refuge is supposed to be wildlife dependent. We have so wildlife dependent activities, the refuge improvement. The Refuge Act was enacted I believe in the 1960s. The Refuge Improvement Act in 1997 honed down the uses on the refuge and really gave us a roadmap on how to manage those refuges. And so our priority uses are wildlife viewing, wildlife photography, environmental education, fishing, nature programs, and hunting. I kind of went through this already, so won't go through it again, but 1963 we consolidated as 2 units. We serve for migratory birds. We're doing a lot of habitat restoration out there. Since in the past 2 years, we've added 2 new parcels to the refuge that shored up the boundary to Highway 45 on the Nampa side and Lakeshore Drive. One of the parcels we got actually will help us extend if you guys have been out there, I'm assuming a lot of folks in here have been out there, but we had the Kingfisher Trail. It starts at Gotts Point. From Gotts Point, you can go all the way to Lakeshore Drive once we get that new parcel open. New parcels on the refuge are closed until they're open, so we're going through that process right now, and I'm trying really hard to get that open by the end of the year, but that will provide a means for people to get all the way from Gotts Point over to Lakeshore Drive. I covered the Lake Lowell unit. Like I said, we got riparian habitat, we got wetlands, we have open water, we have fallow farm fields. The fallow farm fields, coincidentally, we are trying to get back in to farming action. I know we're losing a lot of farmlands in the valley, and it is an important food resource for migrating birds, and so we are actively trying to get some of them back in production. The Snake River Islands units, like I said, 104 should have a slash, 103 islands, over 113 river miles. The habitats out there, we have several islands that have multiple rookeries of black-crowned night herons, gray egrets, great blue herons, so on and so forth. So they are an important breeding ground for birds as well. They also provide recreational use for duck hunters, fishermen, so on and so forth with that. Some of our conservation challenges we have, with the Treasure Valley growing at the rate that it's growing, we can only handle so much usage going on at the lake at one time. And so as people move into the area, one of the things I'm really adamant about is trying to get them to understand that that Lake Lowell is Deer Flat National Wildlife Refuge. It is a National Wildlife Refuge. We do embrace those recreational uses that are going on out there. We really do, but we want to do them in a way in which we can support our mission as well. So maintaining that wildlife habitat, protecting that habitat, protecting we got some closed areas to help protect those nesting birds. And so, again, some of those challenges we're facing are like feral cats and just generally overpopulation, overusage, tragedy of the commons. So, that's one of our bigger challenges with the urban challenges is the tragedy of the commons. We get a lot of people out there, and that consumptive use can have a negative impact on the habitat. And so, again, we're trying to find the means. We're trying to grow I'm trying to grow the refuge, not in expansion of territory, but in the ability to be able to withstand the number of people that are going to continue to use it 100, 200 years from now. I'm very forward thinking in my visions for the management of the refuge, and everything I think about is like, what's it going to be like 200 years from now? It doesn't matter what it's like right now. It matters what we can build the foundation to get to in that, for our future generations. Lessons learned, embracing those non-traditional uses. As an urban refuge, we just don't have the capacity to go run around trying to slap everybody's hands for doing the wrong things. Typically mountain biking and stuff like that is not something that you would find on a refuge. We embrace those uses so that we can manage those uses. So that's something that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service as a whole, even up to Washington, D.C., has done a really good job of trying to give us that space to be able to do that. And then, like I said, creating refuge advocates is a big one for us. As people move into the area, we want them to understand what the refuge is and respect it for what it is. And so I did, real quick, wanted to say, for the Caldwell side, Lower Dam Rec area, we are continually thinking about ways. I've met with folks from Caldwell, the city of Caldwell, to talk about the greenways, the green spaces that are coming with some of the construction sites that are going on. And we very much want to be a part of that. We want to work with you guys to create and reduce barriers and create ways to get to the refuge, to enjoy the refuge, that are safe and welcoming. And so, for instance, the Lower Dam Rec area, as every year, just since I've been here, it just more and more and more people are coming in, and you hear the stories from the Canyon County Sheriff's Department about the backup in the road and how many people are there. And so, I'm just letting you guys know I'm here to work with you guys the best I can, especially for the Caldwell side of things, to make that refuge accessible to everybody, and make it safe and where folks can come out and enjoy the refuge. And I'll open it up for questions if you guys have them. Apologies for not having the slideshow and kind of winging it there, but that's where we are.
No, thank you, Mr. Owens. We truly appreciate that. I had an opportunity to go out and tour the Wildlife Refuge, wonderful facility. I wish, of course, I'd been boating out there and swimming before, but I hadn't had a chance to go in the refuge. So amazing thing you all have going there, and I appreciate your connection to the kids and the schools and the programs you guys provide. So with that, does council have any questions? Councilor Stoddick.
Mr. Mayor, thank you, Edward, for showing up. Burning question for all of us, are the fish safe to eat out of Lake Lowell?
Oh, I think as long as you eat one or two, you're probably just fine.
Second question, when are you going to get more walleye in that lake?
Walleye, we don't want the walleye in the lake. I'm sure it's well known at this point, but most of our fisheries work, I worked hand in hand with Idaho Fish and Game, so Art Butts and Phil Brannigan are two folks that I work with quite often. They do the fish rodeo at the end of the year below the Lower Dam, and they're pretty confident that there is a breeding population of walleye in there. And so that is a concern for us, more for the outflow into the Snake River than it is for the lake. But, you know, if they eat all the carp, maybe it's a good thing.
Yeah, yeah. I was just kidding, to tell you the truth, but I thought I'd ask you because I have a lot of fishing buddies that ask the same questions.
I thought you were going to ask me where to fish. That's normally the question I get.
I've been here 1977, so I know where to fish, but
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I was born in 77.
Regardless of the population that's moving in, don't you think the greenbelt sometimes add to that problem too when you get too many people?
Oh, I'm not going to talk about anything outside the boundary of the refuge today.
Okay, all right. Is there any other grounds around the refuge, like the borderline Orchard Avenue, for instance, that will become available to Fish and Game?
So right now, with us and the funding that we have and the opportunities we have to obtain more land for the refuge, so if I cross the road over at Orchard, it would never be approved. So we don't have the capacity, we don't have the money, we don't have the management capabilities to be able to take something that on.
I see.
And I got rushed because the slideshow came up, but I started to talk about those two parcels. The reason that we wanted to obtain those parcels specifically is because I've been called by several people about a storage facility being built on one of those parcels. And this is our way to be able to protect this space for the future generations. It goes all the way up to the road. So there's no, this was 4 weeks ago, I think, 3 weeks ago, the ink finally crossed the dotted line on that one, and we got that one. And if you're driving down 45, you see the Highway District 4 plant right there. We're the next farm field over, and so that shores up to the road. So that's my long-winded way of saying that we're only interested in obtaining land right now that would shore up the boundary to help prevent more construction development right next to the refuge.
Are you getting any support from the state legislatures on the land purchases from land, or is it strictly federal?
You know, that's another one of those questions I have to be real careful with. I will tell you that we got it. We ended up getting it. I will say that when the new administration came in and the funding was frozen until everything was sorted out, it put a strain on the purchase of those lands and the contract, the holding, I forget what the realty term is for it, it ran out, and one of the landowners backed out of the purchase, and so we're trying to actively get it reappraised and potentially buy that parcel. So honestly, even if I felt comfortable answering your question, I don't know if I could. I think the support was there. Absolutely, I think the support was there. Idaho Fish and Game supported it, and I do believe this. I didn't talk to them, but I do think that everybody felt like it was a good opportunity to preserve this land for this whole area.
Good. And lastly, no offense, but go Army.
Touche,
I can't
sir,
talk to that
touche.
one either, but there's a Navy guy up here too, so.
Yeah, fair enough. Thank you so much. Any other questions from council? Councilor Dittenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, Chuck went ahead and opened the floodgates, but I appreciate people who serve in my beloved Marine Corps, so go Navy. So with regards to the refuge, I suspect there's a component of wildlife management that goes on there. What are you having the most difficult with as far as management? What have we lost over the years?
Our biggest concern right now are the western and Clark's grebes. They're a water bird. They can only take off and land in the water. I kind of describe them as looking like submarines going through the water. Lake Lowell used to have the largest breeding colony in the state. Now I believe it is, oh my God, I ice fish there all the time. Up in the mountains, going up towards McCall, Cascade, Lake Cascade. So I think they have the largest population right now. Those birds have been in major decline since the 1950s, and nobody really knows why. They're very understudied, and so some of the things I've done, I talked about urban challenges, and when I came here as a refuge manager, One of the things we had, you guys all know it, you hated it, everybody hated it. We had a no-wake zone clear across the lake in the Narrows. Well, it wasn't even encompassing the entire breeding colony of grebes over there. So what I did was move it, leave a channel open so boats could go through without having to slow down. And what we're getting is more compliance within that no-wake zone. So we've actually seen a major increase in the success of those nesting birds over there. When the first few years I was here, maybe 22 birds, we'd see 22 chicks at the end of the breeding season. Last year and the year before, I think we saw over 150 chicks. And so we're doing little things like that, but still, we just don't know enough about them to fully understand why they're in decline. So that would be one of our biggest ones.
Okay. All right, thank you. And for those of you who don't know, the Marine Corps is in the Department of the Navy. So.
All sorts of jokes we could say all night, so I appreciate that. It's a veteran thing.
Notice I'm keeping my mouth shut.
Any other questions? Online, Council Register?
No, thank you.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Owens, for your report, and council or anyone in the audience for watching online. I highly recommend going out and touring the facility. It's wonderful, it's available to all, and you guys do a lot of great things out there, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for the invitation, and Semper Fi.
I appreciate it. All right, thank you for your service, all veterans. Next, we'll hear a report from Valley Regional Transit staff. Thank you tonight for joining us.
Hello, it's great to be here.
Good evening, wonderful to see you again.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate being here. Excited actually about the proposal, being able to bring to you an opportunity to grow service without more cost. And do that, we think, in a way that is going to be really helpful for Caldwell, especially right now. Welcome, everyone. It's good to see you all. So this says that we're going to cover recent accomplishments and performance. Those were both in the memo that you received. And if there's any questions about those, I'll be happy to answer them at the end. What I would like to talk about instead is the proposed service change that we're talking about, how it would impact Caldwell, and then the budget as a result. So we have a new service proposal for the Caldwell-Nampa service area on-demand system. So right at the beginning of COVID, some of you who were there then may remember that we revised transit service in Nampa and Caldwell and really cut back on the amount of fixed route service and instead focused service on an on-demand system. It was, it was really innovative for its time. We were using new software, a new idea about how to do on-demand, and we did it with our own vehicles and our existing CDL drivers. And it's been a good service. We've moved an awful lot of people on it. It served Caldwell and Nampa well, but we've not been satisfied with the cost per boarding on that system. Not because we're doing it wrong, but because the model we're using is harder to find the kinds of efficiencies and cost savings that we've begun learning about around the country. So beginning this year, well, actually late last year and early this year, I've seen now 4 different presentations that talk about a new way to do on-demand that's sort of emerging as the new best practice in the transit world, and that is to move to a turnkey service for the on-demand part of it using micro-transit, and I'll explain that in a minute, and then pairing it with transportation network company Uber or Lyft rides on the edges and for the very short trips that are really not very efficient to provide with transit vehicles. So that's a cost savings. We're proposing to use those cost savings by revising the Route 40 to serve Caldwell. Right now, it barely touches Caldwell at the Fairgrounds College area and then hits the freeway and then, and then travels down the boulevard which is quite a slow trip, and it hasn't been attracting riders. Before the pandemic, the old Route 43 was much more in terms of service like what we're proposing, and it had a lot of riders, a lot of folks from Caldwell who used it and were excited about it. So I'll show you in a minute what that looks like. The Route 42, if Nampa chooses to fund it, not asking you to fund it because it doesn't hit you, will continue to serve into the region on the slower route once an hour all day. And people can catch it at the Happy Day Transit Center. So what is microtransit? It's smaller, cost-efficient vehicles. So right now, when you see the on-demand service in Caldwell, it's usually smaller buses, but it's buses. And because of that, it's a stop-to-stop service because you can't always stop in front of a house or a business. You're not confident that there's curb space there. So the new microtransit service would be the smaller vehicles that could do curb-to-curb, much more like a TNC. It's a complete turnkey service. We contract with the company. They own the vehicles. They pay the drivers. They meet the requirements that we need for the FTA on reporting and give them back to us. It would be the same service area. It would be the same booking process. So you can either call in to our customer service line or you can go online on our app and book a ride. And like I said, it would be augmented with TNCs for rides best suited to that. So what's a TNC? It's a transportation network company. The most widely known ones are Uber and Lyft. In some parts of the country, there's others. Here, there really aren't. How and when will we use it? Those trips that are harder to make shared trips on microtransit. So we have a database. The ride request goes into that database. The database uses an algorithm to pair it up with another rider who's doing a similar trip. But what we found is that many of those trips just don't have that other rider that's in a similar trip, and so those are the ones we'd put on the TNCs. And then likewise, very short trips, if it's a mile or under 2 miles especially, really hard to find another rider to pair it up with. So right now, 44% of the trips on our on-demand system are not shared. They're those individual trips because we can't pair them up. And that's 25% of the trips, but 40% of the service because it's the longest rides for the most part. It's large vehicles, stop to stop. The new model would be curb to curb, mid-distance for the microtransit part of it, 2 to 9 miles where we really can pair up riders and find efficiencies. Right now we're a little over 2.5 riders per trip. We think we can get well over 3. We've even seen some of these in other parts of the country that are a little bit higher than that. So we're confident we can do better than we're doing today. I'll note that we're not projecting that we'll do better because we really don't have experience with it. So in the back of our minds, and my staff back here are gonna cringe when I say this, we really believe there will be more trips with the same amount of service. But hard to, commit to that because we really don't have the experience with this kind of service. We'd shift those shorter and longer trips to the TNC, which would reduce 25% of the trips on the microtransit. And like I say, we do believe there will be ridership growth overall. So some of the assumptions we're making, microtransit service area would remain the same. You guys wouldn't see any changes in that. The cost for it would remain the same. It would still accept cash or passes or fare media. That'll be part of the contract we require. TNC, on the other hand, will be a little bit of a premium. It'll be $2 a ride. People who are shifted to it will have a choice to accept it or not, knowing that if they don't accept it, they'll likely have to wait a bit for a ride. And there will be no premium for a longer trip. In other words, Right now, we use TNC services, and if the trip goes over $10 total, the rider pays the difference. Over that $2, in this case, there will be no premium over the $2, as long as it's within this service area. All the trips can be booked on the VRT booking app. The rider doesn't have to have the TNC app. They'll call in or book on the VRT booking app, and it will automatically determine if it's a ride that could be shifted to TNC, get back to that rider with a request to shift them to that, and once they get the okay, that'll automatically happen. The other big assumption that we're making, and we're starting right now on the process as a result, is that we can procure and implement this by October. There's a couple of TNC providers, a couple of these microtransit providers. We'll have to go through a process and make sure which one can provide it and will provide it here, and then get that service up and running by October 2026. So either way, we've already made the commitment that this is a better way to provide this on-demand service. It will still be called VRT on-demand, and we're going to move to this, so we've already begun that procurement process, recognizing that your budget isn't complete yet, but we really couldn't meet that October deadline any other way, frankly. So the Route 40 serving Caldwell, it would be rerouted, would serve up and down the boulevard from the College Fairgrounds to downtown and back, and then hit the freeway, and then directly on the freeway into the 10-mile, over the 10-mile, and then from 10 Mile it would go on the same route that it goes today. It will cut between 20 and 25 minutes, is that right, Stephen?
15 minutes each way.
15 to 20 minutes off of the total time of that route, which will make it much more attractive to people in Caldwell, much like it used to be before we changed it originally. So we're pretty excited about that. So why are we intent? We've had this discussion before on bringing fixed route. There really are benefits that don't accrue any other way, those local to regional connections. And as we've looked around the country at this new service model, the places where it's most effective and most efficient are places where it does also connect to fixed route and doesn't just move people around the community, because then it can be used for both purposes. It's a dependable commute service, and right now with higher gas prices, we're really seeing an increase in demand on those intercounty routes, and we expect that to continue at least for the next some. And our experience in the past is once people discover this, it's, especially if it's time efficient, which we think this one will be, they stay with it. So we're pretty excited about that. And it's a way to grow ridership with and drive cost per boarding decreasing. Every new rider just drives the cost per boarding down. It doesn't cost more. And so that's the beauty of the mass in mass transit, and we think it's an opportunity to bring it to Caldwell. So what would it look like? All those red areas on this route go away. That is where it serves Nampa today, and instead it would start from the bus would overnight at Happy Day Transit Center, but the route would start at the College Fairgrounds at 21st, go clear in here to downtown, back out, and then out to the freeway and into town. We'd lose the one thing that Caldwell residents will lose on this is access to the CWI stop in order to get those time savings. But they can still access that by taking the on-demand and catching the 42, or doing on-demand all the way to CWI. So there are ways to get there still. So we think this is a real positive for Caldwell. It leverages the microtransit TNC strengths by reducing costs doing that. It maintains the service that you have today, drives the cost per boarding down, and allows us to propose this faster, improved Route 40, which experience shows us your residents in the past have been excited about using. So it's increased productivity, directs riders to the best trip option on the on-demand, unlike today where they're often just told there's not a seat available and they'll have to wait. It lowers the cost per boarding. It increases Caldwell's access to fixed route. Right now, the only access really is at the transit center, accessing the Route 42. It maximizes the use of your funding to not just the one thing, but two. I would note that the fixed route really does support local jobs in the economy. We've done a study on that, and there's a 3-to-1 ROI. For every dollar we invest, that you invest, frankly, it returns $3 to your economy. There's no private equity firm somewhere that's getting profits off this. That all comes back to Caldwell. It positions us for growth. I'd like to say when and not if we get service on the rail corridor. Having these kinds of services to augment that and connect to that are going to be very, very important. And for us as an organization, my staff is so excited about it because we think it's replicable across the region in a way as this region is growing and congestion is growing and people are getting challenged by that we can step in and provide some more efficient service. So budget detail, it is 3% more than last year. That was our original ask of you in our Transit Development Operations Plan, which is our 5-year plan, but it doesn't go up from there in order to get this extra service. Right now, we are projecting that there will be a 35% increase in VRT boardings and an 18% increase in the number of unique riders especially on the fixed route. Cost per boarding goes down by a considerable amount, and the cost per rider also goes down. And I might note that cost per rider is over the full year. That's not, per trip. So with that, whenever we make a big change, are required, both by FTA and our own policy, to have a public hearing, let the public know about it, let them comment on it. That public hearing is going to be next Monday night at the Nampa Civic Center. We would invite all of you to attend and listen to what members of your community have to say about this. As a former city council member, I always found that really valuable when there was a chance to do that. So we would love to see you there next Monday. With that, I'll stand for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Clay. We always appreciate your partnership and all the great things you do. You work very hard. Wonderful facilities that you guys run. So with that, Councilor Dittmer.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Elaine, thanks for being here and giving us a presentation. Hopefully this kind of addresses some of the criticism that VRT's received over the years about the high cost of low ridership and this more micro approach. But I do have one question as you answer that question. With regard to this on-demand, will the rider who calls on demand, will they be shocked when an Uber shows up? Or how is it communicated to them that on demand won't be your primary carrier?
So they will book through the VRT app, and the assumption is that that booking will go on our on-demand system, this new microtransit system. If the algorithm says, this is a trip that's best served by the TNC, it will get back to the rider and say, you will get a quicker response to your trip if you accept this TNC ride. Do you agree? And they have to agree.
So the TNC will contact the rider directly and say,
we will through our booking app. So they won't have to have another app. They'll just have our booking app, and we will get back to them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Dittmer. Councilor Allgood.
Yeah, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
So, in all the city management stuff, it says public transportation is always a must. You cannot do without public transportation. Is there a segment of our communities that are getting missed still? Are we keeping up? Are we missing some? What is your thoughts on that?
So I think from our analysis, the rides that are missing, especially in Caldwell, are the regional rides. The people that might take a job in Meridian or at Micron, but for the ability to get there. That's one of the reasons we're so intent on being able to offer this fixed route in addition to the on-demand. The other thing that's happening today is some of the on-demand rides are being missed because of the inefficient way we're running it, the fact that 40% of those trips are the long distance, of the service time are those long distance trips, that takes that vehicle out of service for the shared rides during that time. So we're also confident that some of those trips that are being missed today on the on-demand system that people are requesting, more of those will be met. We think all of them, assuming that our projections are right in terms of demand. Now, if demand grows a lot because it's now a more efficient system, I'm not sure I can say that nobody will miss a ride. But we do believe that with this system, we will not miss the rides that we're missing today.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, like I said, it's just common knowledge that public transportation is a must for any city. But if we're not getting to the people that need the rides, then we're not doing what we need to be doing.
Now, I would note that in addition to the on-demand and the fixed route that we're proposing, we already provide Beyond Access service and Rides to Wellness in Caldwell at no extra cost to you. The general assessment cost helps, provides the planning for all of that. Beyond Access is our trips for older adults and persons with disabilities. Again, on-demand system, but more specialized with nonprofits providing the rides. Metro Community Services, in this case, contracts with us to provide those rides, many of the rides in this region. Rides to Wellness is paid for by the healthcare system. Last year, the two healthcare systems in this region, the two major ones, contributed, just like you contribute, over $250,000 to us so we could provide rides to medical appointments that otherwise likely would be missed because of the cuts in medical transportation in both Medicare and Medicaid. And so those are also trips. We've seen a almost 50% increase in those at both healthcare systems responded by helping us meet that demand with more funding.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Allgood. Councilor Static.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hi, Elaine.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Have you made a proposal to NAPA yet? And if you did, what was that proposal? Can you tell us?
We did make a proposal to them, actually, just before this, and the proposal to them is also to go to this new on-demand model, which will, again, provide more efficient and more rides in Napa, and to cut service on the 40, as you saw in that slide, but maintain service on the 42. Okay. With a considerable, because we're cutting service in this case, with a considerable budget cut in their case, okay, which is what they requested of us.
Do you anticipate a major capital investment with the smaller vehicles, or how are you going to work that out?
What's that?
A capital investment, major capital investment because of the smaller vehicles, or how will you work that out?
Yeah, the major cost savings are just the two things. Both the smaller vehicles are more efficient to run, but right now we're using existing CDL drivers on the larger vehicles. They're union drivers. So I say this with some hesitation because we all want people to have good jobs, but the microtransit provider will still provide better jobs than, say, an Uber or a Lyft, but they won't be quite the same amount as the CDL drivers.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Static. Anything else from council? Council Register?
No, I don't have anything. Thank you, though, for the presentation.
Thank you for taking your time to come out here. We really appreciate it. And like I said, if you get a chance to tour the facilities, whether it be here in Canyon County or over in Boise, it's an interesting opportunity to see how they work on all things related to transportation. So thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. Really appreciate seeing you all.
Yes. All right, next on the agenda is audience participation. This section of the agenda is reserved for citizens wishing to address the council on city-related issues that are not on the agenda. Those wishing to speak will have 3 minutes. We have a clock right here. Comments related to any of the pending public hearings, including decisions that may be appealed to the city council, are out of order and should be held to the public hearing. Repeated comments regarding the same or similar topics previously addressed are out of order and will not be allowed. Comments regarding performance by city employees are inappropriate at this time, should be directed to myself, either by making an appointment or after tonight's meeting if time permits. In order to ensure adequate public notice, Idaho law provides that any item other than emergencies requiring council action must be placed on the agenda of an upcoming council meeting. City council can't act on items raised during audience participation at the time of the meeting, but they may request additional information or the item be placed on a future agenda. So tonight we have two, so once you come up, just please start off with giving us your name and address for the record. Once again, 3 minutes. And with that, Mr. Brian Miller.
Yeah, my name is Brian Miller, 314 Orison Street in Caldwell. Good evening, Mayor and Council members. I have lived here for just over a year and wanted to express my first impressions on my new city that I'll be living at until I pretty much die. So I picked Caldwell as a place to retire. I have lived all over the U.S. due to a military career, but Caldwell has provided the most interesting first impression of all cities that I have lived in. It is very difficult to overcome a negative first impression. There appears to be a great division within the city, and in my opinion, it starts with the people I am addressing here, the council members. Council members are elected to represent the people of the city and listen to the residents' issues and concerns. However, that does not appear to be the case from watching multiple council meetings. Caldwell needs commercial developments. I've heard that many council meetings and talking to various people. But routinely, I see land rezoned from commercial to residential in past meetings, upcoming meetings, rezoning commercial to residential. I don't know why. The residents cite that they bought their properties knowing the adjacent land was zoned commercial in accordance with the comprehensive plan and want it to stay that way. And council members will state, well, if I were living there, I wouldn't want it to be commercial. How is that representing the people of Caldwell? Additionally, in my opinion, it appears that some council members do not even care what residents have to say. During most pro and or con discussions, most council members seem to be distracted and not paying attention to what their residents, the people you represent, are saying. When a developer comes up, the council members all seem to be taking notes, asking questions afterwards, and everything else, and engaging with the developers or applicants. Then when a motion does not pass and the denial is required, experienced council members won't help new members craft the denial. This shows division and lack of unity in the council, which is then reflected in the city. I would expect that in some denials, like rezoning, that that's a common one that might occur, and that there'd be some boilerplate text that could be operated on. And I would also expect, just as I would expect my own lawyer to provide some assistance in how I would say it, I would expect that possibly from the legal counsel. And speaking of legal issues, I have never lived in a city with more lawsuits and tort actions, which I won't even discuss. But I'm not seeing anything from the council to try and alleviate some of those. Last item, if I can.
Go ahead and continue.
We want to be a connected community I have not seen a whole lot in multi-use paths or decent ways to get around town other than via car. I live down near 10th and Ustick. There's no way I can get to downtown or around or the city on my bicycle, on a scooter, walking safely to get to like downtown or Indian Creek. So I'm just looking for transparency, dialogue, and some dialogue with the citizens, please. You know, there's all sorts of distractions going on. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Anything from council? All right, sir, thank you. Next up is Mr. Tyler Kane. And just so you know, you'll have 3 minutes. There's a clock right there.
My name's Tyler Kane. Live at 210 6th Street, Wilder. One of the 375 unique plate reads that this city takes every month with their flock cameras. I sent an email. It was a final notice to this council, every member on this council, and only one single council member responded to it. The city council approved a contract with Flock Safety. That contract is in violation of Idaho state law. The Idaho state law 49-1432 specifically states that LPR data shall not be used for any non-law enforcement purpose. However, section 4.1 of the city's agreement with Flock Safety explicitly grants the vendor a perpetual worldwide license to use LPR data to support and improve Flock's products and services. This is a commercial purpose, and Flock is using my data that I did not approve commercially. Going off what the last guy said, I would like to approach this as a tort claim for the city. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. That is it, councilors, tonight for audience participation. Next on the agenda is going to be the consent calendar. These are routine items that are grouped together to be approved in one motion unless a councilor moves for one or more items to be removed from the consent calendar filed separately. First, are there any motions to amend the consent calendar?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Hogan.
I move that we approve the consent calendar as amended.
Yeah, on your, yes.
Oh, gotcha. I move to move the consent calendar, remove items 11 and 19 to new business for further discussion.
Second.
All right, motion and a second, so moved. Council members can vote electronically. Council register have an electronic vote, or does she have to be voice vote? Okay. All right, the motion passes.
Okay, now I'll move to approve the
Yes.
amended consent calendar.
Yes, Councilor Hogan. Do you have a second? All right, motion and second. Please vote electronically. All right, that motion carries. All right, there are no items tonight under old business, so we can proceed to new business. The first item is reviewing the items removed from the consent calendar. Consent calendar item number 11 was for the appointment of Alyssa Dreetenbos to the Parks and Recreation Commission for a term to expire on December 31st, 2027. Any discussion, or would council like to move to vote? All right, we want to go ahead and motion to approve or deny?
I didn't pull it, I don't know why that pulled.
Yeah, who pulled it?
Yeah, we pulled it for a vote for you guys to have both, if you had any discussion on it.
I didn't pull it.
That one was removed from the consent calendar by the mayor.
Yeah. So if you guys had any discussion on it or any questions? I didn't have a chance to send, when Parks and Rec sent it over, the application, so. Is there a motion to approve, or? Councilor Elgin?
Yeah, I don't know, like I said, it wasn't on my agenda.
Okay. Motion to approve. Item number 11. Correction
Fine,
be new
Mr.
business.
Mayor.
Yes, Counselor Tillman.
For this one, since it's item 2,
Sorry, two.
I will move to approve the appointment of Alyssa Drittenbass to the Parks and Recs Commission for a term to expire on December 31st, 2027.
All right, a motion
Second.
and a second. Please cast your vote. All right, that motion carries. All right, we're going to move back to item number 1. Apologize, this is mislabeled on here. And with that, Counselor Williams.
Mr. Mayor, I move to deny the appointment of Dennis Stack.
Second.
Motion and a second. All right, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Counselor Register.
can we have a reason why there's a denial? I find him to be a very good candidate, so I'm curious what the denial's for.
Mr. Mayor, I don't care to give a reason.
Okay, just in discussion then, I don't think that it is appropriate or fair to deny a nomination and you don't want to give a reason. It's starting to feel like certain members of the council want to control the board. We've already been through 2 nominations which were denied. The mayor has nominated another person who's put in an application who has, I believe, a couple of degrees, is a teacher, is extremely respectful, and I don't see any reason to deny his nomination when we have a seat that needs to be filled.
All right, any further discussion? Madam Clerk, and thank you, Councilor Register.
So I just want to confirm that since this is a motion for denial, that a no vote is to vote no on the denial, correct?
That's correct, Counselor. So if you vote yes on this, you are voting to deny the appointment.
Thank you.
All right, the motion carries 4-2. All right, so that is denied. All right, the next, so that covers the first 2 items. The next item on the agenda is action item and a public hearing on case number DEV 26-000001, SPP 26-00001, and ZON 26-000001. The applicant on, thank you for that. Adura, on behalf of Land X Soterra LLC, is requesting approval of a development agreement modification, a rezone, and approval of a preliminary plat modification for Soterra subdivision number 2. The applicant proposed to rezone 11.36 acres of the site from C2 to R2 to accommodate 51 single-family lots. The remaining 4.41 acres would remain as community commercial. The entire Phase 2 site is designated as community commercial with a future land use map, which is compatible with both R2 and C2 zoning. The 15.77 acre site is located at the southwest corner of the intersection of East Ustick Road and South Kimball in Caldwell, Idaho. This is a quasi-judicial hearing and is essential to follow the process to ensure that participants are treated fairly and respectfully, and helping to inform the decision that is made. First, we're going to hear from the applicant or the representative. We'll have 10 minutes. Once again, our clock is up here. And staff will provide their report on the application. Then we'll follow up with public comment. After public comment, the application or the representative will be given 5 minutes to rebut the public testimony. After the rebuttal, the public hearing is closed and no new public testimony or other comments or information may be offered unless the hearing is reopened. First, we're going to hear from the applicant. The representative will have up to 10 minutes to speak.
Lyle, 332 North Broadmoor Way, Nampa, Idaho. Good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. Again, my name is JD Lyle. I'm with Ardura. I'm here tonight on behalf of Landex Soterra, presenting before you the Soterra subdivision Phase 2 and 3. The applications before you tonight include a rezone application, a preliminary plat, and a development agreement modification. Soterra subdivision is located south of Ustick Road between Bear Lane to the west and 10th Avenue to the east. Soterra Phase 1 lies directly south. That project has been, the plat has been recorded, and that project is currently in build-out. It is also located northwest of the Cumberland Estates subdivision. The original development agreement was approved in 2022. In 2024, an application was presented before the council, primarily including multiplex townhome residential uses, as well as commercial up along Ustick and Kimball Avenue. That application was denied with the council recommending to keep the commercial, the whole 15 acres of commercial in this area. There's also some concerns about the rental units and the suggestion to come back with more single-family uses. The application that's before you tonight incorporates some of those comments with the hopes that it is received more favorably by the council. The comprehensive plan for this unit is designated as a community center. Compatible zonings in this area include R2 and C2. One of the notes from the comprehensive plan talks about providing a focal point where people can connect and provide easily accessible commercial services that serve the needs of the community. The proposal that we have for you tonight incorporates both of those with the goal of providing a commercial use in this area that focuses on neighborhood uses and directly benefit the surrounding communities. Current zoning as part of the approvals in 2022 is community commercial, the entire 15 acres directly north of Phase 1. The proposal before you tonight is a request to rezone 11.36 acres from C2 to R2 neighborhood residential. The preliminary plat total acreage includes 13.66 acres. That does not include the Soterra Avenue and Kimball Avenue. That right-of-way was dedicated with Phase 1. That road is also built out to allow access to Soterra Phase 1. We're proposing 3 commercial lots up against Ustick as well as Kimball for a total of 3.17 acres. Again, that acreage doesn't include any of the right-of-way that's previously been dedicated. With that, we're proposing 51 R2 lots over the span of 10.49 acres. This provides a density of 4.86 dwelling units per acre. If you incorporate all of the right-of-way along with that, the full 11.36 acres, that density is 4.49 dwelling units per acre. Minimum lot size is a 4,000 square foot. Average lot size about 4,700 square foot. Open space, total open space, 2.86 acres. That includes 1.9 acres or 14% of qualifying open space. Amenities, the plan before you, we have a tot lot and a play field proposed kind of on the west side up against the Phyllis Canal. Phase 1, there's an existing pathway that was constructed along the Phyllis Canal. With this project, we would construct the remainder of the Phyllis Canal pathway that would ultimately tie into Ustick at the northwest corner. Again, here's just another look at open space. 2.8 acres of total open space, 1.9 of qualifying open space. The 14% is quite a bit more than the required 10% for this area. Engineering side of things, site plan. With this phase, Ustick would be required to be improved for the half width for a minor arterial road. The full build out of Ustick is intended to be eastbound and westbound through lanes with a shared turn lane, shared center turn lane. We would also be required to construct a right-hand turn lane at the Eustic and Kimball intersection. Again, the right-of-way for this was already dedicated with Phase 1, that plat, so we would just come through and construct these improvements. We would also be required to upsize. There's an existing 12-inch water main in Eustic Road. We are being required to upsize that to 18-inch, as well as construct a 12-inch sewer trunk main across the entire frontage of the project in Eustic and tie into an existing manhole down closer to 10th Avenue. Here are just some renderings of the potential residential products that would go in this project. Primarily 16 to 1,800 square foot homes, single level, 2-story homes. Again, current zoning would require us to do just under 16 acres of commercial. This would result in large scale businesses, a lot of traffic, parking lot lights, long hours of operation, and no open space would be required. With what's presented before you tonight, we have a limited traffic impact, more pedestrian integration, more pathway connectivity throughout, all the way from Phase 1 all the way up to Eustic. We wouldn't have any drive-through big box stores in this area. The goal would be to provide commercial uses that could be directly supported by the communities directly adjacent to it. And then again, this just kind of highlights, so we have the pathway up along the Phyllis Canal. We're also proposing a pathway connecting the residential area directly to the commercial area, as well as providing a 20-foot landscape buffer between the single family and the commercial area. This is required by City of Caldwell Code. Next handful of slides, just some images and renderings of potential kind of looks of how this area can end up being. You know, we're looking at, you know, family style restaurants, maybe fitness centers, preschool, daycare facilities. Again, just reiterating that the goal is to provide a commercial benefit for this area that the residents in this area can use on a daily basis. Again, maybe some outdoor courtyard, outdoor seating areas. Potential look at preschools, parking adjacent, landscaping, kind of commercial all lumped together there. This would be standing in the commercial looking to the southwest. So you can kind of see the pathway as it comes into the commercial area there. Again, that landscape buffer, kind of protecting the residential from the commercial. But just giving it kind of a nice residential neighborhood type feel. Again, just some more images to look at kind of that community feel from residential to commercial in this area. After the neighborhood meeting that was held for this project, a survey on Facebook was sent out to the residents of Cumberland Estates. There were 24 households that responded to the survey. And the results of the survey revealed where most of those residents stood on their views of the new project, the proposal that's before you guys tonight. Some of the key takeaways, neighbors prefer walkable, family-friendly commercial uses. You know, restaurants, cafe, fitness center, smaller retail, medical, dental offices, stuff like that. Overwhelmingly prefer 3 acres of commercial rather than the 15 acres. Very concerned about the high traffic and lighting. 71% said they would visit the businesses regularly. Overall, a vast majority of the neighbors are aligned with the proposed development plan. And I know I got to kind of hustle through these, so I apologize. Some graphs. Which types of commercial development would you like to see most in Soterra? Again, overwhelmingly prefer the 3 acres. Concerns with the higher traffic volumes. Most residents respond very concerned, somewhat to very concerned. Do you anticipate using these businesses regularly once they open? Overwhelmingly, yes. Residents are going to want to use these businesses in this area. One of the late, hopefully all you guys got some of the late exhibits that were provided from commercial brokers. Provides a little bit of data for commercial in the area. Currently 36 active land listings for commercial. 2 of those are pending, 0 non-corner parcels in the 10 to 20 acre range. Median months on the market over the past 2 years, 9.6 months. General takeaways, 15 acre commercial on a mid-block site, without an acre, not ideal. Development agreement modification, we're requesting for the lower density, the 4.86. Oh, did I freeze? I think that's my last slide. Yep, and just close requesting recommendation of, or requesting approval for the rezone preliminary plat and development agreement modifications for Soterra subdivision phases 2 and 3. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, council. Councilor Register.
No, I'm going to have some questions for staff, but I don't have any questions for the applicant.
All right, thank you from the applicant. Well, next we'll hear from staff.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Katie Wright, Senior Planner, 205 South 6th Avenue. This is Soterra 2. Ardura, on behalf of Land X Idaho Soterra LLC, is requesting a rezone of parcel R325830111 and a portion of parcel R32583, a total of 11.36 acres, from the C2 Community Commercial Zone to the R2 Community Residential Zone, with 4.4 acres to remain in the Community Commercial Zone. A preliminary plat consisting of 51 single-family lots and 2.4 acres of commercial, and a development agreement modification to modify DA 2206 to reflect the changes in this application. The site is 15.77 acres and is located on the southwest corner of Kimball Avenue and Eustick Road. The subject parcel is currently vacant land with the exception of Soterra Way running through the site, surrounded by single-family homes, county land, and farmland that is zoned commercial to the east. The subject site was annexed into the city of Caldwell in 2022 with a preliminary plat for commercial lots, total of 15.79 acres, with the zone C2, and 22.2 acres of R1 with 60 single-family residential lots. The entirety of Soterra is shown outlined in red. The R1 single family is within phase 1 and will not be changed with this application. In the original application, the commercial acreage played a large role in the approvals. In December 2024, the same owner applied for a rezone of 9.09 acres from C2 to R2, a comprehensive plan map amendment from business to medium density residential, a planned unit development, and plat modification to modify the northern 15.79 acres of commercial to 6.71 acres of commercial and 9.09 acres of duplex, triplex, and fourplex residential buildings, totaling 80 dwelling units with a DA mod to reflect these changes. This was for phase 2 and 3 of the plat, shown in blue, which is the same portion of the plat as the application today. And this application was denied due to not meeting the intent of the existing development agreement or the 2040 comprehensive plan. Council stated for consideration of approval, the applicant would need to meet the same commercial area as specified in the development agreement or include more single-family residential uses. As mentioned, Soterra was originally annexed with the subject site zoned as C2. The applicant's proposing a rezone 11.36 acres from C2 to R2, shown in yellow, and leaving the 4.4 acres C2, shown in pink. If the rezone is approved, the applicant is proposing single-family detached within the R2 zone, which is permitted land use, and the commercial within C2 zone, which will be required to follow the land use schedule at time of building permits. The R2 zone will act as a transitional zone between R1 to the south and C2 zone fronting Eustick. This development has a density of 4.49 dwelling units per acre, where the required density is 8 to 15 dwelling units per acre. The applicant would not be able to meet the density of 8 to 15 dwelling units per acre with the single-family land use proposed, and still meet the lot sizes of the R2 zone. If it is desired that the applicant comply with the density requirement outlined within the code, the applicant will need to either propose smaller lot sizes within the R2, below the R2 minimum, or choose a more intense residential use. They were requesting the lower density through the development agreement. The parcel is located along the Key Corridor overlay. The purpose of this overlay is to connect people and help them move through the city, but also serve as a distinct place that is high profile. They utilize streetscape elements with distinct landscaping, signage, or similar placemaking elements to create a sense of place as one moves along the corridor. As part of this project, the applicant is required to submit design review for commercial buildings fronting along U-Stick that include buildings fronting the streets with parking in the rear, specific street landscaping, and elevations that are complementary to the area. The subject parcel is located within the community center place type within the comprehensive plan. The community center place type is primarily low-intensity commercial with some higher density residential, creating a transition from the lower dense residential. The requested R2 zone and the existing C2 zone are both compatible zoning districts within the community center place type. The density that is being proposed of 4.49 is below what's called out in the comp plan of 8 to 15 dwelling units per acre, but again, the applicant's requesting this through the development agreement modification, and it will not be a comprehensive plan amendment. The preliminary plat request is for 51 single-family detached buildable lots and 2.4 acres of commercial pads fronting U-Stick Road. The residential lots are slightly larger along the southern boundary to provide a smoother transition to the existing Phase 1. The project is also proposing 14.2% open space, which exceeds the code minimum of 10%. A 20-foot wide land use buffer is proposed to separate the single-family residential from the commercial as required by code. The development will take access off of U-Stick Road via Kimball Avenue. This roadway is already constructed to provide access to Phase 1 to the south. Due to the size and scope of the modification in comparison to the original approval, no updated TIS was required. And the development agreement modification to DA 2206 will be to reflect the changes as requested as part of the rezone and preliminary plat applications. As conditioned, the project is in compliance with all required codes. All utilities are available or will be made available to serve the mixed-use development. Political subdivisions, including school districts, were notified and provided opportunity to comment. No agencies commented with concerns. Public notices were sent to all property owners within 500-foot radius of the property. An email was received from Patty and John Soren on June 4th in opposition due to traffic and small lots. There were several late exhibits that were provided via email to you guys, and then also physical copies. The first one, an email from Rick Vertrees, didn't specify a stance on the project, but is requesting a pedestrian crossing across U-Stick Road to connect the existing walking paths to the north and south. That pathway shown along the Phyllis Canal, that's actually already constructed all the way up to U-Stick Road. So people are actively using that currently. An email was provided from Laura Shannon in opposition due to traffic concerns and not meeting the comprehensive plan. A letter of support from TOK Commercial stating that this request is a response to the market and that mid-block large commercial without an anchor tenant is very challenging to fill. And a letter of support from Colliers stating similar comments about this request, bringing the zone into the reality of the market and difficulties this site may face with the existing zoning. On May 12th, the hearing examiner recommended approval of the requested applications. Staff does recommend that if council approves the request, that the following condition be added based on comments from the public and providing future connectivity. Prior to final plat signature, the applicant shall install or bond for a rectangular rapid flashing beacon, painted crosswalk, and ADA ramps to the north and south sides of U-Stick Road to connect the existing pathway along the Phyllis drain. Exact location to be approved by engineering. Staff's initial review found that the proposed project is in conformance with all applicable city codes as amended, all approval criteria per city code and Idaho code, the adopted comp plan and the future land use map, and all other applicable city adopted master plans. And city council has the authority to approve or deny the preliminary plat and rezone and development agreement modification applications based on the approval criteria within Caldwell City Code once they've reviewed the record and evidence and found all public testimony. And I stand for questions. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councilor Stoddard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Katie, the original plan on this was all commercial, is that correct?
Yes, so, well, thank you, Mayor, Councilor Stodic. Yes, so the original plan, if you look at the larger section, the arrow pointing in red, the whole top portion that's highlighted in blue, that was all zoned for commercial originally when they came through in 2022.
Okay, the second question I have, I think one of the big drawbacks of this was the complaints by the Cumberland folks was the lot sizes don't match their lot sizes, is that correct?
Mayor and Councilor Stodic, that is correct. They are smaller than the Cumberland lot sizes. The lots that would be in these phases would not be directly adjacent to the Cumberland estates.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Stoddard. Councilor Dittenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Katie, the first question I have was, this was approved back in 2022 before our current comp plan, is that correct?
Mayor and Councilor Dittenberg, that's correct.
Okay, so then the next question that I have is, this community center designation, was that title given to it based upon our comp plan definitions and because it fit with what was zoned at the current time?
Mayor and Councilor Dittenberg, the community center is a place type within our current comprehensive plan. Their last two submittals were under the old comprehensive plan. The way that this was decided to be community center is based on it being along the U-Stick corridor and to provide essentially a nice connectivity with commercial and residential uses.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Dittenberg. Councilor Allgood.
Yeah, Katie. Maybe the city engineer can weigh in on this. I'm struggling that Soterra comes into the intersection right at Kimball. One side of the street, you have Kimball Avenue coming up to a stop sign. The other side of the street, you have Soterra. How did that happen?
Mayor and Councilor Allgood, I believe that it coming straight south is still Kimball, but once it kind of doglegs out into the development, I think then it turns into Soterra. But the city engineer may be able to comment on that a little bit more.
Yeah, Mayor and Councilman, we're all good. That is correct. Kimball just goes slightly south from the Ustick intersection and then ends, and then it doglegs into Soterra Way, which is also a public road, but Kimball does not continue south in the way that it does north to south to Ustick.
Okay, so it goes to the corner and then changes names, basically?
That's correct.
Okay. And there's not I don't know, this concern, maybe it's up for discussion, maybe it wasn't. We have quite a few homes in the phase one of Soterra and then what we're considering tonight, but there's not a straight shot in and out of this neighborhood. Everything is winding through subdivisions. There's not really a immediate exit on either on the south end or on this north end of Ustick. Was that an issue? Was there a discussion? Do you have any information on that?
Mayor and Councilor Allgood, I do not know the answer to that. I was not the planner for the original Soterra, but based on where it's located, there wouldn't be many options, as I'm sure you can tell. So typically we'll just hope that they'll provide either connectivity through other developments or potential stubs to other undeveloped properties. But I cannot address if this meets fires requirements or any of those things.
I'm just thinking connectivity, you know, when you gotta wind through neighborhoods to get in and out of subdivision. Rather than a direct shot, that was just That was one of the concerns I noted. Thank you, Kay.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and currently the one direct shot is via Kimball Avenue, as we mentioned earlier. So that's, yeah.
Thank you, Counselor Allgood. Counselor Register?
Well, I think most of my questions were answered during that discussion, but Katie, because this is a development agreement modification, this is not something we have to have a reason for, correct? We can just hold them to their original agreement?
Mayor and Councilor Register, Morgan can correct me if I'm wrong, but based on it being a development agreement modification, it's essentially up to your discretion. If you do not believe that you want it to be modified from what the original development agreement essentially requires of them, that would be considered a reason.
Okay, thank you. I feel, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, sorry, Planning and Zoning, Morgan Bisa. I was just going to agree with Katie on her statement. I did, however, want to provide one point of clarification for something mentioned earlier, just to make sure it was clear to council, that the density proposed in this is 4.49 for the residential portion, where code and the comp plan require 8 to 15 units per acre. This is at 4.49 units per acre. So it is below what code and the comp plan allow for density in the community center corridor. So that is being requested through the development agreement modification request.
Thank you. I guess I'll just reserve my comments for discussion, but I appreciate the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Counselor Register. Counselor Dittenberg?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one more question as we're talking about this. I'm prompted with some other questions. So when we change from something that was approved in 2022 to what our comp plan is now, we would like to think that things kind of come together and match pretty good. We don't want to change everything. So is their proposal, is it consistent with what we would, is it consistent with our comp plan? Is what they're proposing consistent with our comp plan?
Mayor and Councilor Dittenberg, they're not necessarily going against the comp plan. Again, the density within the comp plan is a guide, but it does just express essentially lower intense commercial uses with higher density residential. So if they were to do that, like I mentioned, they would not be able to comply with the R2 zone. They would have to have either smaller lots or a higher intense residential use, such as multifamily or multiplex buildings, things along those lines.
Okay, hold on. Let me get this right. In order for them to be compliant, we need higher density housing there.
Mayor and Councilor Dittenberg, it's up to your discretion of what you believe the intent
I know what you're telling me.
is.
It's up to our discretion, but
Based on what they're proposing, they are proposing a transition from the south up to the commercial. So the intent of what the comp plan calls for is what they are proposing, within the means they can do so within the R2 zone.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Dittenberg. Anything else from council?
Mr. Mayor, I actually have one other question.
Counselor Register?
And this may actually be for Morgan, if she's available. So I had talked to Morgan about this just to make sure I had my information correct, and I want to just verify something. So they had an original development agreement, and then they came back in 2024 to try to change that. And at that time, Morgan, were they suggesting multifamily at that time when they tried to change it the first time?
Mayor and Council Register, yeah, they were proposing multiplex buildings, so duplexes, fourplexes, and I believe maybe even some eightplexes. So yes, it was a multifamily model that they were proposing at that point in time. And the denial was stated to either remain commercial for the whole portion or to provide single family in place of the multifamily.
Okay, so now we're back again to remove some commercial where they've left it single family, but if I'm understanding this correctly, they are now taking our lowest density number and halving that. Is that correct?
Mayor and council register, yes, that is correct.
Okay, so even though the comp plan is a guide, they are not really following the comp plan guidance that says that the density needs to be 8 units per acre, and they're asking for 4.
Mayor and council register, that is correct. They are requesting to reduce the density below the 8 dwelling units per acre.
Planning and zoning, Morgan Pisa. I just want to clarify, while the comp plan is a guide, those densities have also been adopted by code. So it is a request to reduce the density below the code adopted densities. Thank you.
Okay, so we're actually talking about making a decision that goes against our city code, and we would have to then modify it for this particular development.
Mayor and council register, the code wouldn't be modified, the comprehensive plan wouldn't be modified. They are utilizing their development agreement, which is essentially a contract stating that, you know, they may be able to waiver from certain requirements in the code. So that's where the leniency with development agreements come from, where it's more at your discretion for approval or denial.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Register, Councilor Dittenberg.
So one more question, Katie, as I'm listening to all the testimony here. The applicant came up here and said, if here's an applicant or an application or an amendment to the development agreement, which we think more closely aligns with what you want, and then you're up here saying that that the recommendation in 2024's denial was it's too dense, we want something less dense, and so we've actually told the applicant kind of the roadmap, what we want, and now we're here.
Mayor and councilor
Is that
Dittenberg.
correct? Is that a correct assumption?
That is correct. The denial did state either the entire portion remain commercial or single family essentially be put in place of where the multifamily was proposed.
Okay, so then my question for legal is if that was our recommendation for denial, and he comes back with an application that meets the requirement that we gave him in the denial, are we somehow obligated to consider what we told them in 2024?
May I interject really quickly? There were some other differences. So first of all, this was in 2024 before the new comp plan and code. So it was under a different set of codes. Additionally, at that time, they were proposing to leave 6.71 acres of commercial land for development, and this time it's, I think, 4-point-something commercial acres. So there is less commercial in this proposal than the one in 2024. So I would not say it's, you know, exactly like for like.
So we either change the comp plan and it's a clean slate and we start over, or we don't start over?
I believe that, I guess my point is that when council recommended that they consider single family instead of multifamily, we did not have our current code, which states 8 to 15 units per acre. So that is new since that last recommendation by council.
I can understand where Councilor Dittenberg's coming from, because if the applicant were to return another time with high density, would we say we don't want a high density there? And so I understand what he's saying. I know where I'm at, you know, I know what I'm thinking here, but it does seem conflicting. I understand what he's saying.
Did you want to follow up from that, Councilor Allgood, or just another statement? Thank you, Councilor Dittenberg and Councilor Allgood. Anything else from council? All right, thank you, staff.
Thank you.
All right, now we're going to open a public hearing. If there's anyone signed up to testify, now is their opportunity to speak for up to 3 minutes. Once again, we have the clock on the wall. Comments must relate to this application. If you can, try not to repeat comments made earlier. If you have any additional information to provide. We're going to start with those in favor of the application. We had 2 signed up, 1 already spoke. We'll go with those in neutral, and finally those opposed. Each person will provide their name and address. I'll speak in the microphone. Before we start public comments, I'd like to remind everyone this is a respectful public forum. We will not allow applause, booing, cheering, and other inappropriate behavior at tonight's meeting. Anyone that does that will be gavelled out of order. With that, we'll start with Mr. Ross Holliday.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Ross Holliday, address 14051 Sage Hollow Drive, Draper, Utah. I've been developing projects here in Idaho for 2 decades, and I specifically had Ardura represent us in making the application. There's been a lot of questions. There's been, we've been very fortunate to have the opportunity to meet with the neighbors. We hosted a meeting there at the YMCA. We were able to gather a lot of information about the types of commercial and the things that are there. I think you can see what's kind of occurred here is we're a little bit in a common sense trap, and I hope that we can get out of that. That's the goal for tonight. There's a few things going on here. We took the feedback from the immediate citizens who said, we do not want apartments, we don't want a rental community directly adjacent to us. We've met with staff. We took guidance from some of the previous members of council who provided an instruction and a direction to have a more single-family type of approach. What we do know is this: 15 acres of commercial is just not worked. Trust me, we have tried since over the last 4 years. We have utilized the services of the best brokers in this community, and we have not had success in being able to do that. There is no potential in those areas. As such, we've had them independently analyze this and say, what can work here? What is buildable? What can be delivered? People would like stuff that is supportive, and this is why what we've came up with. Tonight is really an effort to not get caught in the middle of the donut any longer. I don't believe there's a sentiment, regardless of what is allowable. We're not asking for the max allowance. We're not asking for 8 to 15 units. What we're asking for is a sensible, common sense buffer of smaller lots that transition from the larger lots into the commercial, and commercial that is buildable, that there's a market demand for. We build it, we retain it, we deliver it. We don't just seek approvals. And that's the effort. I'm here to answer any additional questions, either during the public comment or in any form or fashion. We appreciate the questions that are being asked. As you can see, we've been under a few different guidelines in these applications over the course of 4 to 5 years. And tonight is an opportunity to finally unify that with what the citizens have asked for, what we would like, and keep that in harmony with the code. And as you can see from what was presented by planning, we believe that we are in compliance to be able to do that, and we hope for a favorable vote this evening.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Councilor Dittenberg?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your testimony. So you've been in the development arena for some time, is that correct?
3 decades. I probably look a little younger than I am, but yes, 3 decades.
Congratulations for looking as young as you do. Yeah. If you would have said 15 years, I would have said okay. But okay. Yeah. So, so as you're chatting with us here, and this is a plan that you're looking at, how long before you get a shovel in the ground for a project like this, as opposed to how long would it take you to get a shovel in the ground for a larger commercial lot?
Well, this is immediately actionable, and that's what's exciting. You know, we've dedicated all the roadways and whatnot. You know, upon receiving an approval this evening and working towards the final plat process there with staff and getting that approved, we would be under construction typically in a window from today that's within 6 to 9 months.
Okay, so I really appreciate, I've written this down, immediately actionable, because I am personally in favor of things that are immediately actionable, as opposed to things that may develop over a next 10 or 15-year period because we want some type of project. So anyway, thank you very much for your testimony.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else
Mr.
from
Mayor.
council? Oh,
I have a question for the
Council
applicant.
Register. I'll get you next. Go ahead.
Thank you. Just really quickly, if this is denied, I'm just going back to what Councilor Dittenberg just said. Is it going to take 10 to 15 years for you to start your development if this is denied?
We don't see in an environment for a number of years. I don't know how to forecast out to the 5 or 10 year mark, but we don't believe that a mid-block 15-acre commercial development is currently viable or in the near term. I can't say what will be viable in 10 years, but at the advice and the studies that have been performed by our commercial brokerage teams, and we've had more than one team, they don't believe that the 15 acres becomes something that gets developed.
Okay, so if this is approved and we reduce the amount of commercial there, do you have people who are interested in the spots?
We have demand for, certainly for restaurants and some of the uses that have been articulated. There is also a growing need for daycare services. We have had communication with a number, the brokers have had conversations there, and they believe that we can move to something very actionable on those pads. The restaurants are the easiest. Restaurants are the easiest because everybody is looking for those kinds of food services. The other ones, there is interest, and we look to convert that interest quickly.
Okay, so you do have commercial developers, I guess, or restaurants or daycares that have put their interest into taking these spots?
They are communicating with our brokers, yes.
Okay, well, you said immediately actionable, so I'm just wondering if we have people lined up
let me
to
clarify
be in
that.
there.
What's actionable is our development plan to get the frontage improved along U-Stick and to bring utilities into the site and to develop the site. That is what is immediately actionable. The next layer is to then fill those commercial spaces, and there is interest to do that.
Anything else from Council Register?
No.
Councilor Allgood.
Yes, sir. I can tell you some of my perceived hesitancy from the council is the loss of so much commercial space. You know, would it be possible to expand the commercial space some, maybe to what you have listed as Emberstone? There's 10 lots north of Emberstone. If we added some more commercial space, would that be possible or just not marketable at all?
It's less marketable. The plan that was put forward, we believe, is the most marketable, and the plan that we think gets filled the quickest and meets the demand and the desires of the neighbors as well as ourselves. Right? We have no interest in developing pad sites that sit to incur the cost to do that and to have them sit for extended periods of time. And we felt that the sizing that was selected was based on the advice of market research and studies that were done by 2 independent brokerages. And they feel, along with myself, that gives us the best opportunity to move the quickest.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Allgood. Any additional? Thank you. Next up is going to be neutral, Mr. Paul Webster. No speaking on that, thank you. First will be Ms. Laura Shannon for opposed.
My name is Laura Shannon. I live at 4707 Middlesboro Way. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Please deny Soterra Phase 2 because it does not align with the comprehensive plan's vision for this property, and it is bound to a development agreement, and its current C2 status is appropriate in a commercial corridor. The land in question is designated as a community center place type in the comprehensive plan, which states on page 36 that it is not primarily for residential use, but instead is for low to mid-intensity commercial use and to provide commercial services that serve the needs of the community. In fact, the land use graph on page 43 shows less than 20% of this place type as residential. Soterra proposed only 3.23 out of 15 acres for commercial use, a far lower fraction than is intended for this place type. In March of 2022, the owner of Soterra entered into a DA allowing him to build 61 houses on 22 acres and obliging him to reserve the remaining 15 acres for commercial use. A DA runs with the land, and the current owner assumed that commitment when he purchased the land. Commitments listed in the agreement include it shall be developed with service and retail business, and residential uses are not permitted. It also says that any new owner shall be liable for all commitments and obligations in this agreement. It also says that the restrictions are partially for the benefit of other nearby residential properties. In Caldwell Code, this DA is a legally binding contract that supersedes standard zoning rules, unless it is amended by a vote from the City Council. Citizens rely on council to hold developers accountable to DAs. If they can be dissolved at the developer's ask, then of what real use is a DA to the community, and why do we have them? There is no question Caldwell needs commercial development. Recently, Roger Brooks claimed Caldwell is 60,000 square feet short of professional office space and 60,000 square feet short of retail space. The plat connected to this DA has 8 commercial pads yielding varied options for community commercial uses. What better spot to reserve for these uses than this land near 2 arterial roads with no parking issues and multiple existing and approved housing developments within walking distance. This would also support the comp plan's emphasis on walkability. Soterra's commercial status could provide convenience to hundreds of households in West Caldwell and add to the city's commercial base. Soterra should bring forward a project focused on commercial development, one that is more in step with this commercially zoned land and its existing DA. I also want to point out that the current Soterra that's been built up is a density of 2.7 units per acre. And the way that the new portion, they have averaged those which are 9.9 units per acre, and the other portion to make it the 4 point whatever units per acre. So technically, you can say it's at that density, but as far as what you're living in, it's a higher density there. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions from council? All right, thank you, Ms. Shannon. Next up, Mr. Ray Marasicola. Is that how? I choose not to speak. Okay. Sherry, both no, but they're marked down as opposed. Paul McLean. Just please come forward and then the clock will start up here. Thank you.
Mayor, council members. Paul McLean, 113 Appalachian Street, Caldwell. Glad to see you guys here again. Looking at what was proposed, I thought it was very cute, a very attractive community in an R1 situation where he would ask for part of R1 to become commercial. Okay. Previously, which was denied, had a lot more commercial. Okay. Yes, a lot more density, but a lot more commercial. And what I keep hearing is this is supposed to be a community gathering place, having 3 some kind of store or restaurant is not a community gathering place. I get a little, I've said this before, a little off when I hear people telling me what we should want from their point of view. I've heard things, well, you don't really want to have a plaza in this area, and you wouldn't want to have maybe a place to gather and have little festivals, or even maybe a farmer's market, which, yes, I would, okay? The previous development that they proposed, which had higher density, but it had a lot more businesses. Now they're cutting it, well, not in half of businesses, they're cutting it by 10%. Also, Ustick is a major pathway, and as things build up with all the homes going in south of us, the 1,000 homes south of us, the homes that are down Ustick, the apartments that are down Ustick, forgetting all those, there was still, I don't understand why businesses don't want to come into this area. Because it's a gateway to Sunny Slope. We have Indian Creek, we could have Sunny Slope Plaza here, okay? Everybody shops somewhere else. Yes, we go to the 2 places, 3 places here. I just talked to everybody, my neighbors that live in Caldwell Estates. None of us answered any kind of survey that they were talking about. And the other thing that I keep getting upset, and I've said this before, is, well, if we do put in housing, what housing would you want? Well, that's just a trick to me. We don't want housing, we really want, but if you want to put housing, we want single homes. But the answer is, really want commercial. If it takes a while, just fine, okay? We've got plenty of houses in this area. There's more being planned. You've already put in thousands of new homes within a mile of this place, okay? And reduce the number of commercial on Caldwell, okay? And from what you tell us is that if in a R2, I mean C2, no more than 25% of that should be housing. That's a general guideline, I understand, but now they've even increased that from what it was before. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate that. Any questions, council? No. All right, there's a couple more signed up, but they're all no for speaking. Christine McLean, Bob Birch, Brian Bartley, sorry, Sue Poland, and Mike Poland. All right, obviously council, any more questions? So we're gonna move to a 5-minute rebuttal from the applicant.
Do I need to restate everything? Okay. So I think Ross did a really good job of answering a lot of your guys' questions and kind of going through more of the intent and the background of the project. But there's just a couple things that I'll address real quick. Councilor Allgood, I know you mentioned concerns with access. So phase 1, there is a tie-in to Cumberland Estates, which then ultimately makes its way out to 10th Avenue, and then as well as the Kimball connection. And a lot of times with residential development, from an engineering perspective, is we try and actually make those roads somewhat curvy because we try and slow people down. So we don't want people coming in and long straight roads, people ripping through there. But we do have our 2 points of access for fire requirements. Yeah, Ross kind of touched on it, but the residential density, again, the original, well, the first new application in 2024 came with the higher density. Those were primarily 4- and 6-plex townhomes. Those would be platted as multiplex, so those would have to be for rent units. And so what was presented tonight was a direct response to the request for the single family. And I know that there's been a lot of talk about the density and the reduction in the density. A lot of that comes to when you do the single family residential in Caldwell, you have to dedicate full right of way, which is 56 feet. Where when you do the multifamily townhome type stuff, you can do private roads, which reduces it to 26. So when you upsize to the single family, roadways take up a good portion of that. And so we were trying to fit in as much residential as makes sense while still trying to keep the commercial primarily up against the frontage of Ustick, where it's high sight, easy to access. I didn't really get to touch on it in my presentation, but I wanted to just go through, the TOK gave some stats on, just general commercial listings in Caldwell. Currently, there's 36 active retail office land listings in Caldwell. Only 2 of those are pending. There are 0 non-corner parcels available in the 10 to 20 acre range, and there's only 8 commercial land listings that exceed 5 acres total. Median months on the market for sold commercial land over the last 2 years is 9.6 months. With anticipated that a larger mid-block unanchored site would typically be on the market longer than that. There was a comment about our density calc for this project. The density, the 4.49, that is just strictly within the phase 2. So that's 51 lots over 11.36 acres just in the portion that was presented tonight. That does not include any area or lot counts in the phase 1. And I guess just for general discussion or frame of reference, I guess is a good way to put it. Our group, Ardura, is working on 2 projects up along the Highway 55 corridor. We're working on Karcher Commons right now. We previously worked on a project called the Charles. Karcher Commons is at Indiana and Highway 55. The Charles is at Lake and Highway 55. Those projects are about 15 to 18 acres of commercial. Those will most likely have a big box grocer, some sort of a strong anchor tenant with smaller commercial restaurant, bank type uses surrounding it. I bring that up because that is along a very high traffic, high visibility corridor of the same size as what's being presented here tonight, where Ustick is not, at least as it sits right now, is not what Highway 55 is going to be in 3 years. So again, going back to the marketability of the site, you know, I think it's a struggle to see the same type of projects going on along Highway 55 that are ultimately going to go along halfway between Farmway and 10th Avenue along Ustick Road. So with that, I'll stand for any more questions you guys have, and then maybe bring Ross up here to help with anything else as well.
Questions from council on the rebuttal? Council Register.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Man, okay.
Gonna go ahead and declare the public hearing closed. Is there any recommendations from planning staff? For council as they make a decision? All right. All right, now we're gonna move to motions. Entertain a motion to approve or reject case number DV 26-00001, development agreement modification for Terra subdivision number 2.
Mr. Mayor, I got a couple comments to make, and then I'm prepared to make a motion.
Councilor Dittenberg. Thank
you. What we have before us is a proposal to change a development agreement from something that a landowner and somebody with experience knows is relatively unactionable at this time. And as we all do in making decisions about our careers, about many different things in our life, we say what's actionable now as opposed to what could possibly be actionable 15 or 20 years down the road. So what we have before us today is an application or a request to change an application, and you can, the planning staff and legal staff or whoever wants to, you know, give me the signal that no, this is not correct what they bring forth. a request to change something that is a legal change, that can be legally changed, and it is compliant with our comprehensive plan. And not only is it a legal change, and not only is it compliant with the comprehensive plan, but 2 years ago, we made some requirements that he consider not developing something more high density and develop residential. And so here we are at a point where he's presented us with a clear case for doing what the council has asked him to consider. So having said that, based upon Caldwell City Code, the comprehensive plan, upon the testimony, evidence in record, and evidence that was given here today, and the facts presented, I move that the development agreement and the modification be approved subject to the staff conditions.
A motion for the approval. Do a second. All right, the motion dies. Do we have another motion? Counselor Allgood.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I find out where I'm at here. There we go. Let me find the language here. Which one is this right? Okay. Based on Caldwell City Code and comprehensive plan and the testimony, evidence, and record, and the facts presented, I move that development agreement modification be denied. And Mr. Legalist says provide a reason. I can if we need to, but we were told we didn't. What is your opinion?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Allgood, because it's a development agreement and a contract, there doesn't necessarily need to be a rationale provided for changing it if the council determines that you don't want to.
I'll make the motion. If I need to follow up, I'll do so.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Any discussion on that motion? Counselor Tillman.
Actually, I will bring up something. It's been stated, and I have all the respect in the world, both for the commercial people that are out there as well as Councilman Dittenberg, but apparently 4 years ago, the developer entered into an agreement and said that 15 acres of commercial was perfectly reasonable. Then turned around 2 years later and said that only 6 acres was reasonable. Now they're saying 4 acres is reasonable. I don't see business changing that fast. I've been in civil structural for years. I don't see that fast. Similar to what Councilman Dittenberg said, and once again, I have all the respect in the world. This is one of those situations where if it was viable then, why is it not viable now? And why is it not viable in the future? That is why I'm agreeing with Councilman Allgood and denying.
Thank you, Counselor Tillman. Counselor Allgood, did you have additional?
Just a quick follow-up. And again, gentlemen, I forgot your name. I apologize, but you did a wonderful job of presenting. You did a good job. I appreciate that. But this area is growing residentially by a huge amount. And I feel like it's a loss to give up the commercial down in this little area. There's going to be a lot of homes coming out there, Homedale and 10th, and moving into town, and I would like to see places where people can go right down the block and do business. And reducing the business down to 4 acres and 3 buildings just didn't work for me. We need more commercial down there, and that's the reason for my motion.
Thank you, Counselor Allgood. Counselor Dittenberg, your light was on earlier. Do you have any additional? Counselor Register?
I don't have anything at this time.
All right, we have a motion for denial and a second. Madam Clerk. All right, the motion for denial carries 5-1. So not, just clarification as far as the remainder of it. Including item number 4.
Is that fine? Yeah, that's fine. We don't need.
All right, we're going to move on to the, do you guys want to take a quick break? Yeah, let's take a quick break before we move on to the next one. 10 minutes. We'll be back. All right, welcome back, everyone. We're going to return from break. We're going to move on to item number 5. 3 and 4 were denied. Next agenda item is an action item, is a public hearing on DEV 25-00009, PUD 25-000004, and SPP 25-000013. The applicant, Eli Bensky of Brighton Company, on behalf of the landowner DWT Investments, is requesting a development agreement modification, planned unit development, and preliminary plat for Aviary Heights subdivision. The subject sites have existing zoning of HC, mixed use and regional commercial, R2 community residential, and R1 neighborhood residential, where the current city comprehensive plan, future land use map, places types are neighborhood 2, neighborhood 3, and mixed use center. The applicant is requesting approval of a planned unit development and preliminary plat for Aviary Heights subdivision, mixed use subdivision of 305 single family detached and attached residential building lots, 11 commercial lots, and 2 public quasi-public lots for a future fire station and school lot. The 124.6 acre development is located on the west side of Midland Boulevard, south of the lower 5 Mile Drain, generally at the northwest corner of the Highway 2026 and Midland Boulevard intersection. All right, with that, we're going to first hear from the applicant or the representative who have up 10 minutes to speak. Please come up to the mic, and the clock will be right here.
Council, Eli Bensky, 2929 West Navigator Drive. I'm here to present Aviary Heights to you guys. A quick background of who Brighton is. We're a developer here in the Treasure Valley. We've done a few projects that I'm sure you're aware of. One of the projects is Paramount. This project has mixed use. We have various residential. We have a Cadence, which is a 55+ community. We also have Bainbridge, much like our previous development. We also have mixed types of residences as well as a 55+ community. We've also developed Century Farm. Pinnacle, this development is currently being developed. It's not completed yet. And as you may be more well aware, Arbor, this subdivision is located within Caldwell city limits. A lot of the housing type that you see in Arbor will also be found in Aviary Heights. Real quick, a background in this area. Previously, this was brought forward under the Midland 2026 project. Highlighted in yellow was the area for the Midland 2026 project. On the southeast corner is the previously approved aviary, and Aviary Heights is on the northwest corner of 2026 and Midland. Aviary Heights is a mixed-use community. We are proposing 305 residential lots with 19% of open space, a future school site, a future fire station, as well as 11 commercial lots. As part of the Midland 2026 project, we did receive approval for our land use designation and our zoning. We are currently mixed use center on the corner of 2026 and Midland. In the center there in that darker yellow color, we're neighborhood 3. In neighborhood 3 place type, you guys are requesting a density of 4 to 20 units per acre. We are proposing 6.37 units per acre in that center portion. And then in the northern portion, that is a neighborhood 2 place type. The density range proposed there is 3.11 units per acre, where in the comprehensive plan it is a density range of 2 to 8 units per acre. Again, we're not requesting any changes to our land use designation or our zoning. To the north, we have R1 or low density residential. In the center, we have R2 medium density residential. And along the corner of Midland 2026, we have highway corridor. Some of the amenities that you'll find in Aviary Heights include a wildlife observation garden on the north corner. In that area, we are proposing some bird nesting and some meditation gardens. You'll see some custom seating that allows residents and other residents within the Caldwell area that are traveling along the linear park to take a moment and observe birds that are natural to this environment. Further down the linear park that borders the west of our property, you'll find a bike repair station. This bike repair station is nestled next to the future school site. We are really hoping that our residents will be taking their bikes along this bike path and going to school, or also visiting the commercial areas with their family. Further down the linear park, at item number 3, we are proposing a dog park. In the center of the medium density residential, we are proposing a grill and patio area with a shade structure and picnic tables, I apologize. And then in the low density residential area, you'll find the clubhouse and tot lot. Some of the pathways that run through our development are different in nature. We have the linear park to the west. That's over 3,000 feet linearly, so it goes from the northernmost part of our boundaries to the southernmost. It does also go through the commercial lots. That linear park is 100 feet in width. The pathway itself is 10 feet. We also are proposing detached sidewalks throughout the entire subdivision, making it safer for pedestrians to connect from one amenity point to the next, also allowing residents to visit their neighbors easily. And then we also do have mid-block pathways represented in pink. Some of the examples are listed below. I did mention the bird nesting area. That's the image on the left. The 2 images in the center are our custom seating that will be found in that wildlife observation corner. And then the images on the right are examples of our covered picnic and barbecue area. This next slide shows you guys actual images of what this looks like in developments that we have already installed. We have the 2 top, the top left and top right. Those are the grill areas with the shade structure and picnic tables. In the center top, you'll notice the pathways that connect the whole entire subdivision to different amenity points as well as to the greater area. On the bottom left, we have our pool and clubhouse. This is the pool and clubhouse that is in Arbor. The center bottom is the inside of that clubhouse that has a wet bar and fridge for residents to be able to host parties, book clubs, things of that nature. And then on the bottom right is an example of a tot lot that we've previously installed in Arbor as well. As I mentioned, Aviary Heights is a lifestyle community. We are committed to helping residents engage with each other in different types of events. We have small-scale intimate gatherings. We also have large-scale gatherings that we've partnered with. This specific image in the center with the gentleman carrying the snake, that was a partnership with the South Meridian Y. They brought out this gentleman and let the kids play with, I believe it was 4 different types of snakes. And if you guys have children or grandchildren, you know that that was probably the highlight of their week. We also have paint and sips, block parties, anything that you can think of, we've probably already programmed into one of our subdivisions and hope to bring that to Aviary Heights as well. As part of our applications, we are requesting a planned unit development. One of the modifications within the PUD is to allow some of our homes to front a vista. On the image on the right, you'll see what that looks like. We have homes that connect directly to the pathways with the sidewalks, and then in the center, they have the vistas that allow for additional gathering space. One of those gathering spaces will be the place for the shade structure, grills, and picnic area. The image on the left The blue highlighted portions, those are the homes directly that will be facing those vistas. One question that is asked is, how does the addressing work for these types of homes? These homes are accessed via carriage lane, or more commonly known as an alley. All of the carriage lanes have been named, and we put a courtyard address placard at each of these vistas, so that way people that are visiting the residence know exactly where they're going, and it also makes it easier for EMS to be able to respond. The second of our modification is to our lot size and setbacks. Highlighted in green are the specific changes we are requesting. In order to allow for a variety of housing type within Aviary Heights, as well as lot sizes, we are requesting these modifications. I'm going to pause just so you guys can review them just for a second there. And I can also come back to this slide. Phasing, we are proposing Aviary Heights to be built out in 5 phases. The 5th phase is for our commercial lots. We're requesting some flexibility with phase 5, as that owner might be ready to go before some of the other phases. If for any reason if the owner of phase 5 decides that they are ready to go before phase 2 is completed, we will work with the owner to make sure that that roadway in phase 2 is completed. We are proposing in the residential area homes either between the 70 and 89 lot count per phase. The school site and the Fire Station 5, is proposed to be in phase 2. As I mentioned, Aviary Heights has a variety of home types. We have our traditional homes. These are the homes that have access and frontage on a public street. These homes may have 1 or 2 garages, 2 car or 3 car garages. We also are proposing carriage lane homes. This can either be an attached carriage lane home or a detached carriage lane home. The 2 images on the top are attached. We do provide full landscaping on the property line to make it more visibly separation between the 2 units or the 2 homes. And then real quick, I just wanted to show an example here of the linear park and the open space. Our pathways and connectivity that brings everybody together. And where specifically each of these users are. The future school site is reserved for Gem Prep. That's a K through 12 school, a charter school. As mentioned, Fire Station 5 and Winco. Thank you guys for your time. I'd like to request approval for Aviary Heights for our development agreement modification, our preliminary plat, and plan unit development. I stand for any questions.
Thank you. From the applicant, counsel?
Just one quick one.
Counsel, all good?
Yeah, Eli. So, did the residential count go up after this modification, and by how much?
Mayor, Councilmember, all good. And I get back to this. Our development agreement modification, our initial development agreement only tied us to the land use and the zoning. It did not tie us to a lot count. So we're not proposing any changes to the lot count. The development agreement modification is simply to bring forward the exact layout and plans for this area and allow us to then hold this layout to the agreement.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you, Councilor Allgood. Councilor Stanek.
Mr. Mayor, love the project. What I'm really gun shy on is in the retailing business, sometimes they have what they call a loss leader pricing, where they reduce the price of certain products just to bring people in. And my concern is about the school property and the firehouse property. In the past, we've been promised this, and we approved it based on some of those decisions, and when they come back the second time around, all of a sudden it's out the window. So any guarantees that that will happen relative to school property and property for a firehouse?
Mayor, Councilmember Static, that's a very valid question. I have seen those applications come forward and seen those changes. We are actually under, I'm gonna let Chief Daniels answer that question if he doesn't mind, in regards to the fire station. For the school site, Gen Prep has already received approval for this site through their board. We are fully committed for this school to go in.
And that's in Valley View again, is that correct?
Correct. This is in Valley View School District. I did meet with Assistant Superintendent Palmer regarding this school. They're not allowed to bring this into their enrollment counts. However, he expressed there was already a site within a few miles of this area slated for an elementary school. So he thought that this would be a good additional pressure relief valve for this area.
Okay.
Just a quick question, that elementary would be right by Summit View, correct? Do you know that?
I'm sorry, will you repeat
Summit
that
View
question?
Middle School?
Yes.
Is that where the elementary's located at?
Yes.
Future site, right?
I believe so, yes.
Thank you.
Morgan, do you know that?
Potential, that's where the
Yeah,
line's at.
potential.
I believe it's on the cover sheet for your staff report. If you give me a moment, I could find it.
Do we want to move with Chief Daniels next?
Yeah, let me know if I step out of line here. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Back in February, we spoke with Brighton Development to Zach's last name? Zach Myers, with some specific conditions, given our lesson learned in prior developments. And we were very deliberate and intentful with the language that the land will be donated to us, which they agreed to, that they would grade, make frontage improvements, and provide water, sewer, and utilities to make us a turnkey site in for Station 5, for us ready to build, that they would do so by the time or at the completion of Phase 1 for occupancy load to begin at the beginning of Phase 2, so we wouldn't be behind the eight ball, so to speak. So we wouldn't suffer from a massive influx of residential and commercial without providing protection there. And that we would like to go vertical by 29 or 30 in line with them completing Phase 1 and having infrastructure laid in. I think that covers it, right? And for this site, our plan is to copy and paste Station 4, save on some engineering and design costs, and just to what we're building at Lake and Karcher is to exactly replicate that station with engineering and design already done and plant that on the ground there once it's approved.
Mr. Mayor, Chief, would there be an EMT component to this also?
Mayor, Councilor Stoddard, just like Station 4, we did design it to hold up to 6 personnel per day. So a 4-man engine company and two personnel assigned to a squad or an ambulance, and that would be something that we'd have to discuss with our paramedic partners.
Okay, thank you.
Would it be available?
Thank you, Councilor Stanek.
Morgan Beasley, Planning and Zoning. I did pull up the Valley View school districts, and it appears that it would be Warhawk Elementary, Summit View Middle, and Ridgeview High.
Thank you for that. Anything else for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to hear the staff report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Morgan Beasley, Planning and Zoning. The application in front of you this evening is for Aviary Heights, who is requesting approval of a development agreement modification, planned unit development, and a preliminary plat for Aviary Heights subdivision, formerly known as Midland 2026 Lower 5. The proposed PUD and plat is approximately 124 acres, consisting of 9 separate parcels, with an existing zoning of HC, which is Regional commercial mixed use. I forgot that we changed the name of that last year. R2, community residential, and R1, neighborhood residential. The Aviary Heights subdivision consists of 305 single-family residential lots, which includes 221 detached single-family lots and 84 attached single-family lots, 11 commercial lots, 2 quasi-public lots, and 55 common lots. In addition, a development agreement modification is proposed to attach a more specific concept plan. All right, the subject site is located on the north side of 2026 on the northwest corner of the intersection with Midland Boulevard, immediately east of the existing rail line, and covers approximately 124 acres. The surrounding use includes Suncor, an industrial use immediately to the west, Midland Meadows, residential subdivision to the north, Community Ag to the east, and Phase 1 of Aviary to the south across 2026. On the screen, you can see an excerpt from the comprehensive plan. This area includes 3 different place types within our future land use map. On the far south is adjacent to the to Highway 26 is our mixed use place type. Mixed use centers are hubs of intense commercial activities that attract people from all over the city and beyond. They are located on Caldwell's most heavily trafficked roads and provide a transition from these roadways to less intense areas. Development patterns are denser than surrounding areas and increase in intensity around infrastructure such as transit lines. Housing is not a primary focus of the mixed-use center, but can be accommodated in mixed-use and medium-high intensity residential projects that create a transition from surrounding neighborhoods. To the north, in the sort of mustard color, is our Neighborhood 3 place type. Neighborhood 3 areas border those more intense commercial uses, such as the pink mixed-use area immediately to the south, and they help transition to less dense residential areas, such as the Neighborhood 2 furthest to the north. These Neighborhood 3 place types should include a variety of scales and massing and provide a variety of missing middle housing types. And the furthest to the north is the Neighborhood 2 place type, as I mentioned, which is the most prevalent housing type in the city of Caldwell and covers areas between the major centers. These areas should develop to be highly connected and allow for a variety of housing options. In general, less dense housing is found in areas further from major corridors and increases as we move closer to those major roads. All of the zoning that you can see on the screen is the existing zoning today. These were the existing zones that were approved when council annexed this land in 2024. The applicant has zoned the area closest to the highway in the blue hatch as HC. This is compatible with the mixed-use center place type, and no residential uses are proposed within this zone. Specific commercial uses are currently unknown except for Winco, which will be the largest commercial user in this commercial area. To the north is the Neighborhood 3 place type, which I discussed, which is identified in the bright yellow. That area is currently zoned R2, which is compatible with the Neighborhood 3 place type, and this helps to transition the commercial area into the lower density single-family development to the north. This R2 area proposes a density of 6.37 dwelling units per acre, where code requires a density between 4 and 20 units per acre. So it is on the lower end of the allowed density in this Neighborhood 3 place type. Furthest to the north is the area currently zoned R1, neighborhood residential, which is proposing a density of 3.1 units per acre, where code requires 2 to 8 units per acre. Again, on the lower end of the density allowed by code and the comp plan for this area. As I mentioned, all parcels are currently zoned as shown, and no changes to the zoning are being proposed today. On the screen is the subdivision as well as the landscape plan. As you can see on the furthest south, those larger lots, those are the commercial lots. So this plat proposes 35 acres of commercial, provided along the full width of the frontage on 2026, as is required by code for it being an arterial. The only residential uses proposed are single family, both detached and attached, 305 units as mentioned earlier, In addition to the residential and commercial uses, the applicant is proposing to donate a parcel to the city for a future fire station at no cost, as well as donate a parcel for a new charter school. Those conditions are already in the staff report in your packet. The applicant has also provided a 100-foot wide common area buffer and pathway parcel running north-south adjacent to the existing railroad. That is by far the largest pathway cross-section that you guys have seen on any plat that has come before you since I've been here. And this wide common lot helps bring up their overall open space to 19% of the site, which exceeds the 15% that is required by code for the planned unit development application. The project meets all codes as conditioned. However, since the project is a PUD, the applicant has requested some reduced setbacks, as well as some reduction in lot size and frontage. This is permitted through the code as part of the PUD, and the applicant has provided the necessary open space and amenities to offset the request of these waivers. Utilities can be made available to serve the proposed land use, as is described in the engineering staff report. Some unique circumstances, ITD is working on 2026, and some of the improvements along that highway frontage are contingent on ITD's timeline. And secondly, and probably the most important thing, is that while the applicant is applying for a development agreement modification, they are not proposing any changes to what their vision was when the city annexed them in 2024. When the city approved their annexation with the existing zoning, they only submitted for one preliminary plat, and that was for aviary, which you can see on the lower right in the orange color. When all of these areas that are highlighted in different colors came before the city for annexation, that was the only plat at the time. At that time, the annexations were divided into 4 quadrants. Aviary, which I mentioned, was an approved plat back in 2024. They have now come in for the lower 5, identified in blue. They have changed the name from lower 5 to Aviary Heights. And there's 2 remaining quadrants identified on this map as Highline and Midland Farms, which will come before the council at a future date. At the time of these approvals, council required that when the remaining quadrants were developed, the applicant request a DA mod to update the DA to include the most current and detailed plans and plats. So that is what the applicant is doing today. They are simply bringing forward and attaching the most current plat to the DA. No changes to the original vision or zoning that was presented to council at the time is being proposed. The project as presented does fully conform to the City of Caldwell Code and Comprehensive Plan as a planned unit development. All agencies and adjacent properties were properly noticed. Valley View commented that they do have capacity to serve, but they are concerned with keeping up with development. Gem Prep, which is the charter school that they are proposing to donate the site to, submitted a letter of support for the development. And we only received 1 letter of public comment, which was from Suncor to the west, which was neutral, but did provide details on their operation and suggested providing mitigations for noise and safety being adjacent to their project in the rail line. And part of that 100-foot pathway buffer strip does include a large berm and fence, as is recommended in that letter. So in conclusion, staff has found that as conditioned, the proposed project is in conformance with all applicable city codes, the comp plan, and all other master plans. And I would be happy to answer any other questions that you may have.
Thank you for that. Councilor Hogan.
Yeah, Morgan. Our paperwork says the traffic impact study is not complete. Is there more information coming on that?
I would defer to engineering.
Mayor and Councilmember Allgood, I did notice in the staff report that a lot of the recommendations we had were based on the traffic impact study, which would led me to believe that it was completed. I can get an answer for you here shortly.
Okay, yeah. The note I have in front of me says the traffic impact study has not been officially approved or accepted by the Caldwell Engineering Department. And Morgan, along those lines, some of the build-outs we've had out in this area, we have put a contingency that there had to be a traffic light at Midland before they did occupancy permits. Has that been discussed in this situation?
That is true. We have conditioned all the other projects in this area, including, I believe, the first phase with that, and I would once again defer to their engineering staff report to make sure that was in there. I believe that it was, but or I could sit back at my computer and I could pull up the engineering staff report and skim it myself.
Yeah, because Midland is such a terrible intersection that I just want to make sure we're right before we keep going.
Mayor and Councilmember Allgood, just want to clarify, it may be incomplete due to ITD's comments on that as they continue their design on 2026.
I was just wondering if the intersection was scored and what the score would look like kind of with this consideration.
Mayor and Councilmember Allgood, are you referring to the Midland 2026 intersection?
Yes, I am.
That intersection included within this development, if it is approved, was a traffic mitigation signal at that intersection with the approval of ITD.
Okay, so it was done based on the idea that there would be a traffic control light at that point?
That's correct. Until ITD constructs their 2026 widening improvements, this would be constructed a traffic mitigation signal before those are complete.
That's okay.
Councilor Tillman.
Morgan, engineering, this might be for you. There is basically a nice square existing property that's on Midland that is not part of this. My question is, we have along the north side is the entrance street. I guess it's called Skygate Street. Comes out to Midland, and then we're widening Midland, and it looks like adding right-of-way and possibly sidewalk. Is that sidewalk continuing in front of that property? Is the road widening in front of that property, or are we ending up with a short piece of unfinished road?
Mayor and Councilmember Allgood, or Tillmont, sorry about that. That would be included contingent upon that we can acquire the right-of-way of that parcel. So the developer would be responsible if we could acquire the right-of-way from the property owner.
Okay, so we haven't discussed that yet, or even Brighton hasn't found out, or anybody's found out whether they can do that yet or not?
Mayor and Councilmember Tillmont, we would wait till, if this was to be approved, to begin that right-of-way acquisition process.
Thank you.
Just to confirm, on 2026, right now ITT has put pause on the plans because of the funding.
Mayor, that is correct. We don't have a definitive time frame on when they're going to get funding for the 2026 widening improvements, which has kind of changed our outlook on our own plans that we are currently under design for.
Thank you. Anything else from council? Councilor Williams.
Do we really need a fire station out there? I'm just curious. Never mind.
Got you, Fire Chief. Would you like to come up and answer that, or are you good? Yes, unanimous, yes. All right, now anything else from council? Sorry, I apologize. Councilor Register.
I don't have any questions yet. Thank you.
All right, we're going to open the public hearing. Anyone signed up to testify now has the opportunity to speak for 3 minutes. Please start off by giving us your name and address for the record, and the clock, just for those that aren't aware, will be right up here. In favor, Eli Bensky. Oh, sorry. All right, I meant to move to neutral. Andrew Phelps is neutral. Would you like to come up and speak? And just for everyone, there is no opposed.
Hi, Andrew Phelps, 3448 South Arcaro Way in Meridian. So I'm representing Suncor, and Brighton's been a great partner of ours, and Obviously, we're gonna miss our farmland neighbor because they don't complain when we start at 2 o'clock in the morning or midnight or when trains deliver multiple times a week. And they've complied with a lot. There's just one more request as a condition of approval. Instead of relying on Suncor to educate 305 homeowners every time they sell their house or move in and want to call in and complain about the hours of operation, that's possible with the industrial operation, in somewhat close proximity, is some type of escrow statement where homeowners acknowledge that they are moving in, close proximity to industrial land that operates 24 hours a day. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions from the council? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
That'll be it.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Tillman.
can I ask a question of legal? Real quick, based on that comment?
No.
Oh. Based on his comments, is there a way the city can add something into, or force Brighton to add something into their escrow agreement saying that there's industrial going on? Do we have that right to do that?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Tillman, since we're talking about a development agreement, there could be a request to see if Brighton would be willing to give a notice to people that are buying the homes or something of that nature. I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted. Maybe something in that nature that if they're agreeable to that, they could give notice to buyers or homeowners in the future.
Okay, I just didn't know if we had that.
We can always ask to see if they're agreeable to it.
Okay.
Planning and zoning, Morgan Bisa, I would also be comfortable recommending a condition that they add a note on the final plat so that anyone purchasing a lot, when they pull up their plat, would see a note saying that they're immediately adjacent to this industrial user.
All right, would the applicant like to come up for a 5-minute rebuttal? Up to 5 minutes.
So to address that comment from Andrew, we are already working with our legal team to include this in our CCNRs that residents will be buying next to an industrial lot, that they understand that they're purchasing a home within the hours of operation that Suncor has already communicated with us. In addition, Andrew and I actually had a conversation a few weeks ago regarding this. And at the time, he had not seen the berm or the fencing details that we were proposing along the linear park. Do you mind pulling up my presentation? Thank you. I'll go back to that slide just so you guys can see it as well. This guy here. So on that bottom cross section on the left hand side is Suncor's property. We are proposing a landscape berm, and on top of that berm we're proposing a 6-foot tall fence, and then it would gradually reduce in elevation back to that 10-foot wide pathway, and then additional landscape between the 10-foot wide pathway between the residential lots. Again, that total width of that linear park is 100 feet wide. In addition to that, I did want to clarify in regards to the sites here. Oh, went the wrong way, I apologize. So I know a lot of people get excited when they see Winco's name here. It's been a long time waiting. Winco is really excited. I believe they also submitted a letter of support in regards to our project. Mark is also online if you guys have any questions for him. One thing I did want to note is with a mixed-use project like this, a big box store does solidify additional commercial users. As you're aware, there's 11 commercial lots here. There's potential for additional commercial users, whether that be residential or additional commercial service. That could be fitness, that could be coffee, smoothies, things like that, that would go hand in hand with a large-scale grocer like Winco. Other than that, we're just excited to bring Aviary Heights here to Caldwell. It'll be a brand-new development that you guys haven't seen with its lifestyle component, and it also provides home types that aren't quite common with our carriage lane homes. I stand for any additional questions.
Counselor, thank you, by the way. Counselor Allgood.
I'm sure you heard, and I just want to make sure that as a developer, you understand this. My opinion, I'm not speaking for the rest of the council, but I would require traffic mitigation and a traffic light before occupancy. Is that your understanding?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, we actually recently received approval from ITD to put in the permanent light at Midland in 2026. That is part of our project. We haven't worked out the details exactly with engineering and ITD, but we did receive that approval, and it's something that we would be more than happy to move forward with our project of Aviary Heights.
Perfect, thank you.
Anything else from council? Do you have a timeline, by the way, on that approval for that light?
I don't currently have a timeline, no. Oh, sorry, for the approval itself, we have already received the approval.
Correction, the construction, I meant to say.
I don't have a timeline on the construction,
Okay.
no. I know that there is a little bit of work within engineering in regards to bringing up sewer and water through 2026 as well. So we're working hand in hand with engineering in regards to all the infrastructure that will be going on in that intersection.
Thank you. Anything else from council? Councilor Register?
Not at this time, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, since there's no more council questions, I'm going to declare that the public hearing is closed. Do you want to have any discussion before making any motions? Councilor Tillman.
Mr. Mayor, seeing no active discussion then, based upon Caldwell City Code and the comprehensive plan, upon the testimony, evidence, and record and facts presented, I move that the development agreement modification request be approved, subject to the conditions of adding to the DA an acknowledgement of Suncor operations and to have engineering work with the property owner on Midland Boulevard to obtain frontage right-of-way for road work.
Councilor Tillman, thank you for the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion on that motion for the development agreement modification?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Allgood.
I'd also like it on the record that traffic light is present before any occupancy permits are given.
Would you like to modify your motion?
I would be glad to add that to the motion.
And which specific traffic light?
The traffic light at Midland in 2026 to be installed prior to any occupancy permits.
Okay, do you still second? Motion is second. Any further discussion on that motion? Councilor Tillman, your light's still on. And Councilor Register, did you have anything?
No.
All right.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Williams.
Morgan, it's redundant at this point, but lesson learned, as Chief Daniel said, the wording in that DA will be very specific about the land donated to the city, correct?
The language is very specific. It does say donated to the city at no cost. It's very clear.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Councilor Williams.
Just to follow up
City
on
Attorney.
Councilor Williams' questions, when I'm looking at the condition that's in there, it's also set to be a turnkey property, so it'll be approved, and it's also a timeline on it. that it'll be ready for no later than phase 2 of the subdivision. So they're in addition to just the donation being in there, there's also some very other specific criteria that really solve the issue that we've seen before.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. All right, the motion passes. Just circle back, we still need to go through subdivision preliminary plat and then the PUD, correct? Okay, so next is the subdivision preliminary plat. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Tillman.
based upon Caldwell City Code and the comprehensive plan, and upon the testimony, evidence, and record, the facts presented, and the applicable city codes approval criteria, I move that the preliminary plat request be approved, subject to the conditions presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Madam Clerk? We need a countdown clock, some music. All right, that motion carries, unanimous. All right, next to the plan unit development. PUD.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Tillman.
based upon Caldwell City Code, the comprehensive plan, and upon the testimony, evidence, and record, the facts presented, and the applicable city code approval criteria, I move that the planned unit development request be approved, subject to the conditions as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. All right, that motion carries. Do we need another 5-minute break? Okay. All right. Skip ahead. Thank you, by the way, for the applicants coming out tonight. Thank you, Fire Chief. All right, the next item on the agenda is public hearing in case number ANN-26000002. The applicant, Rhett and Julia Jones, are requesting annexation of a parcel with a zoning designation to M1. General Industrial, the parcel is designated as employment center in the comprehensive plan future land use map. M1 is considered a compatible zoning designation. No development is proposed at this time. However, the property is surrounded by multiple sides of the city limits. The 2.66 acre site is addressed as 1620 Aviation Way, is located on the southwest side of Aviation Way, approximately, sorry, the sound was throwing me off out there, approximately 690 feet north of the intersection with Andy Lane and 820 feet south of the intersection of Skyway Road in Caldwell, Idaho. First, we're going to hear from the applicant. I'll have 10 minutes to speak. Clock will be up here.
Mayor and Councilman, thank you for your time. I'm Brett Jones, live at 628 South Bonneville Drive, Nampa, Idaho. Our application is I own that property, and we've had several people look at it. Because it doesn't have a zoning and it's not annexed into the city, they back out of it. And so we're asking the city to zone that, and most of the land around there is commercial in that area, and it would give you, the city of Caldwell, 2.66 more commercial areas for light industrial usage. When I bought the property, there was an old dilapidated farmhouse on it with trailers and trash. I've cleaned it up, demolished the house, carried it off, and cleaned it up, made it presentable. We keep it mowed for fire dangers and things like that, but the whole purpose of that is just to get it annexed into the city. And that's really all there is to that one.
Thank you, sir, for that. Any questions from council? Council register?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, appreciate it. Next up will be the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor and Councilman. Garlene Davis, Planner 1, 205 South 6th Avenue, Caldwell. Before you today is an application for annexation of a parcel with initial zoning of M1, General Industrial. The site is 2.66 acres and it is located approximately half a mile south of the I-84 interchange at exit 29. It is addressed as 1620 Aviation Way. It has frontages on Indy Lane and Aviation Way. The subject site is currently undeveloped and located within Kenyon County. Staff is not aware of any prior land use application or entitlements associated with the parcel within the city. The site is surrounded by a mix of industrial, commercial uses to the north, industrial and residential uses to the south and east, and industrial and commercial uses to the west. The site is designated as Employment Center on the future land use map. Surrounded parcels are also designated as Employment Center and Mixed Use Center to the north, Employment Center to the east, Mixed Use Center to the west, and Employment Center, Mixed Use Center, and Special Purpose to the south. The Employment Center designation is intended to support a range of employment-generating uses, including industrial, warehousing, and supporting commercial activities. The parcel is currently within county. It is contiguous with city limit and within the city impact area. Therefore, staff find the requested zoning of M1 compatible with the M1, the Employment Center designation and the surrounding zones and land uses. There is no development proposed with the annexation. Any future development of the parcel will be subject to applicable city development regulations and standard review processes. As proposed, the annexation is compliant with all applicable city code. Utilities are available or adjacent to the parcel and Aviation Way. Public agencies were notified of this hearing. The engineering department approved the parcel with condition that the property owner enter into a deferral agreement for future frontage improvement along Aviation Way and Indy Lane. The Caldwell Fire Department approved, and we received no public comment on the property from the public. The Planning and Zoning Commission has recommended approval of the annexation. Staff review found that the proposed annexation is in conformance with all applicable city code, approval criteria, the comp plan, and other city master plans and policies. With that, I will stand for any questions.
Thank you. Anything from council?
Okay.
All right, thank you. Now we're going to go to a public hearing. The applicant has already spoken in favor. There was no one in neutral and no one opposed. So with that, anything else? We're good? All right, go ahead and close the public hearing. Council have any other questions or comments on the motions? Correction, the application. Do you want to move on to motions? All right. With that, I'll entertain a motion. Councilor, all good?
I'm ready to make a motion if appropriate.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Based on the Caldwell City Code and the comprehensive plan, and upon the testimony, evidence, and record, and the facts presented, I move that the annexation be approved, subject to the conditions in the staff report and proposed by zoning designation.
Thank you, Councilor Alga. That's a motion. Motion to second. Madam Clerk? Correction, any discussions on the motion? All right, seeing none, Madam Clerk? All right, that motion carries, unanimous. Thank you. Can you take a break?
No, let me finish this. There's another piece to it.
Correction, apologize.
Based on Caldwell City Code and comprehensive plan and upon testimony, evidence and record, and facts presented, the applicable city code approval criteria, I move that the proposed zoning of M1 be approved, subject to the conditions as presented.
It's a motion to second. Any discussion? All right, Madam Clerk. All right, that motion carries and it's unanimous. Now we can move on to the next item. All right, the next item on the agenda is an action item. Before we start, would you like to take a break? Or are you good to go ahead and move in?
This is just the ordinance.
Sorry.
So, Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Tillmont.
I move to sponsor Bill number 6, ordinance number 3740, associated with ANN 26-02, with a request to move for its passage by title only and approve the summary for publication.
Second.
Motion is second on item number 7. Any discussion? All right, Madam Clerk. All right, that is unanimous. Now we are done with that. Flipping the page over to item number 8. Would anyone like to take a break or just get through this? Correction. The next item on the agenda is an action item and is a public hearing for case number ANN-2500003. Alexander. Pronounce your last name? Gantrov. On behalf of Pavel and Natalia Gantrov, is requesting annexation of a parcel with a zoning designation of M1 with an associated development agreement, which is a compatible zoning district based on the employment center place type designation of a future land use map. The application is proposed to maintain the existing large truck repair and storage use, equipment repair and service, large on-site, 3.3 acre parcel, 3.03. Parcel is addressed as 1419 Andy Lane, is located on the east side of Andy Lane, approximately 1,800 feet north of the intersection with Aviation Way. First, we'll hear from the applicant. Have up to 10 minutes, and your time will begin right up here.
And the councilor, there is not very much to this project, so we are trying to develop a first annexation, make the annexation to the city from county, as it's a future use for industrial and commercial, and so we'd like to bring a commercial place into that lot and do a commercial semi-truck repair and semi-truck trailer repair and storage on a yard, bring some employment to the place, and obviously develop the property to the standard of the city of Caldwell. We've been working on this project with your staff and with civil engineer to develop the property, so we already have the civil engineer pretty much put everything forward, just minor corrections and minor finishes that needs to be done. And we are asking to get this annexed to the city so we can move forward and get this place developed and start using it to its full potential. And therefore, I'm staying for questions.
Thank you for that. Any questions from council? Councilor Allgood.
Yes, you have the truck shop right next door, right?
Yes, correct. I believe it's to east of us or north.
I think it's west, I don't know. My map.
Oh, west. Yeah,
Yes.
correct. West.
Well,
West north.
You've done a really good job there. That is a nice-looking facility there. I remember when you came to get that started some time ago, and I appreciate what a nice place you've built there.
Well, that's our neighbors, basically.
That's your
That's
neighbors?
my neighbors, if we are referring to Triple C.
Yes,
And so, yeah, Triple C, and we pretty much gonna be developed the same thing.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be like, Pizza Hut and Pizza Johnson, something like this is gonna be here. So our
Okay,
company is
so
called
that
Record.
that wasn't you that developed that originally?
That's the same engineer that actually developed their property, is developing our,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Anything else from council? All right, thank you. Staff.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Again, Garlene, Planner 1, 205 South 6th Avenue. Before us today, we have the application for annexation with initial zoning of M1 and an associated development agreement. The site is 3.3 acres and located approximately a quarter of a mile north of the Indy Lane and Aviation Way intersection. The property was originally developed with residential and livestock-related uses in or around 1943. Canyon County Code Enforcement currently has an active case regarding the operation of a truck repair business on the site within the agricultural zone, which is not compliant with the county zoning regulations. The parcel is surrounded by residential uses with livestock to the south, a truck repair use to the north, a combination of commercial and industrial uses to the east, I-84 and industrial uses to the west. The site is designated as employment center on the future land use map. Surrounding parcels are designated as employment center and mixed use center to the north and south, employment center to the east and mixed use center to the west. The requested zone is consistent with the employment center designation, which is intended to support a range of light industrial uses. The parcel is currently within the county. It is contiguous with city limit and within the city impact area. The site is developed with a current structure with it rated residential and some accessory structures, but they are used to operate the Record Truck Center business. The applicant proposes to annex within the city with the M1 zone and continue the operation of the existing business. Staff finds that the requested zone is compatible with the implement center designation and the surrounded land uses. The site will continue to take access from Indy Lane. The existing use is expected to remain or possibly expanded. As part of the annexation, the applicant will be required to complete site improvements to bring the property into compliance with the requirement of the M1 zone. The submitted site plan complies with city regulations. In response to staff direction during the initial P&Z hearing, the applicant has begun site improvement, including relocating trucks and trailers to an all-weather surface area. As conditioned, the proposal meets all city regulations and standard. As I mentioned before, the site is currently developed with structures that are deemed residential in nature, while the proposed use is industrial and commercial in nature. As a condition of approval, the applicant will be required to bring those structures into compliance with applicable commercial building codes prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy or within 4 months of approval tonight, whichever comes first. Public utilities can be made available. Currently, the site is functioning on a sewer, septic tank, and a well. The engineering department has conditioned that the applicant shall connect to city water when the city deems it necessary. However, sewer is not readily available. The engineering department is willing to let the current use continue on the septic tank, but further development will have to be reevaluated. Public agencies were notified. The Caldwell Fire Department, Engineering Department, the Mapping Department approved with their specific conditions of approval. The Kenton County Code Enforcement team has stated no issue with the proposal. However, they underlined the pending zoning code violations. We received one public comment from the business to the north of the site, where they expressed concern regarding the current zoning violations and requested that any outstanding issues be addressed prior to this annexation approval. The Planning and Zoning Commission has recommended approval of this annexation, and staff's review found that the proposed project as conditioned is in conformance with city code, approval criteria, Idaho code, comp plan, and other city master plans and policies. With that, I will stand for questions.
Thank you for that in your presentation. Councilor Tillman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is more of a question for probably legal. Based on the letter that was sent from CCC Logistics that was mentioned in the staff report, they state in their letter that they had contacted the city regarding concerns about activities on the property that were not proper. I just want to find out and make this clear publicly. We can't enforce anything because it's county land, correct?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Tillman, that would be correct.
Okay, I want to address this letter before it gets, and I wanted to do it publicly, that is the reason we have not been able, and I don't want to reward bad behavior, but we can't really take that into consideration since it's not something that we could enforce, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from Councilor Williams?
So, Mr. Attorney, what happens to that action that county has if this is annexed? Does it just become a moot point, or explain to me how this works?
I think I'm going to ask more clarification of what your question is.
So if they're already taking action because this land is in violation, it sounds like it was agriculturally zoned and they're operating a business out of there, and so there's a grievance that county has with them. So once we annex it, what happens to that grievance?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Williams, largely that'll be left to the discretion of the county, I think. If they choose to pursue the action that they're doing, it would have been a violation of the zoning ordinances and the codes of the county at the time. Going forward is going to be zoned properly under the city, so the city still wouldn't have an issue with that. It would just be that the county could decide if they wanted to keep going with what they're doing, or if they simply think that now it's no longer part of the county into the city, the zoning's changed.
Mr. Mayor, may I add to that?
Go ahead.
Planning and Zoning, Morgan Bisa. I support everything that the attorney said, and I just wanted to add that As mentioned, we have not had any ability to enforce anything up to this point because they have not been part of the city. Moving forward, if they are annexed, then enforcement would move from the county to the city. We have several strong conditions in this annexation that we would be following up on, and if they are unable to comply, then we would begin city code enforcement along those lines. But I believe the applicant did attempt to apply for this use with the county, and it was quicker to apply for the use with the city. And so, once they are zoned industrial, then the use would be permitted as is conditioned in the staff report, but they will have to bring it up to code.
Counselor Allgood.
And Morgan, just to be clear, they're aware of that there's these conditions?
They are aware of it. We have sat with the applicant to go over the conditions that are in the staff report. And they have not expressed that they are unwilling to comply with the conditions.
Thank you, Counselor Allgood. Anything else from council? For staff? Seeing none. All right, we're going to move on to public hearing. If anyone signed up to testify, which we only had 2 in favor here tonight, already spoke. There's no neutral, none against. Would you like any rebuttal? Any of the things we brought up?
Communication between the county in the prior, and as Morgan mentioned, when they suggested for us to move towards city, we took their suggestion right away and brought her over to the city, and we complied everything that the city is required of us to do, and we continue to do that, and we just wanted to start the development, but we couldn't with them. And now, if we are accepted and annexed, then we can start moving forward. And there'll be no holdback on our end. Thank you.
Any questions from council? All right, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Anything from staff? Additional? All right, entertain a motion. Councilor Denver.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Based upon Caldwell City Code, the comprehensive plan, upon the testimony and evidence and record and the facts presented, I move that the annexation be approved, subject to the conditions as presented, and subject to the approval of the proposed zoning designation.
Have a motion? Have a second? Second, okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and vote. Madam Clerk? All right, motion carries, unanimous. Now we're going to move on to the zoning map in a minute.
Mr. Mayor, just to finish this item, based upon Caldwell City Code, the comprehensive plan, upon the testimony and evidence recorded, the facts presented, and the applicable city code approval criteria, I move the proposed zoning of N1 be approved, subject to the conditions as presented.
Motion for approval? Second. And a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, go ahead and vote. All right, that motion passes. Unanimous. I'll move on to the bill and ordinance number. Councilor Allgood.
I'll sponsor bill number 42, ordinance number 3694, associated with ANN 25-03. with a request to move for its passage by title only and
Second.
approve the summary for publication.
Second. before
Motion and a
discussion.
second, any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk? All right, that motion carries. All right, move on to the finance report. Council, all good?
I'm looking for the memo. Is it here, City, Madam Clerk? Oh, thank you. That works even better. Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Allgood.
I apologize for my senior moment.
I'm
Make a
43 and I've had my moments tonight, so.
I make a motion to approve accounts payable in the amount of $4,079,476.19, represented by check numbers 193,852 through 194,110, and electronic payments and payroll in the amount of $956,738.42, represented by check numbers 40833 through 40855, and direct deposits be accepted, payments approved, and vouchers filed in the office of the city clerk.
Second.
Motion and a second for the financial report. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and vote. All right, that passes unanimously. Sorry about that. We'll start with council reports. Councilor Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Haley, question for you. I don't know if you're able to move mountains, but there is a power pole that looks like it's falling over into Indian Creek off of Ustick. And it seems as though the fire department keeps getting calls to go out there, and there's nothing they can do about it, but it seems that Idaho Power isn't interested in doing anything about that. Can we address that with Idaho Power, or is that like moving a mountain to Mohammed?
Councilman Williams, I'd be more than happy to reach out to Idaho Power and see what we can do to get that fixed. I would be surprised if they wouldn't want to fix it. They would be certainly liable if it fell over and there was any damages. So let me reach out to them. I'm sure we can get that.
Have you seen it? It almost looks like the wires are holding it up now. It's leaning that far.
Are you speaking of the one near over at the railroad crossing that we just widened? Yes.
Yeah.
I am familiar with that one. We had brought it up with them during construction, so let me circle back since nothing came
Just a thought, because then we don't have people calling 911 because they're panicking and it's using up services we don't need. And so just a thought. Thank you for anything you can do. And I realize you can't enforce anything with Idaho Power, but appreciate you making the effort.
Yeah, and if I recall correctly, during construction, there was some back and forth between Idaho Power and the railroad as to whose responsibility it was. So that may be the holdup, is between those two entities, but certainly I'll get an answer back to you.
Thank you. And then, Mr. Mayor, just one more thing, just to follow up from our budget hearing last week. We had a tremendous presentation from Public Works, especially relative to our availability to provide services. And I think we were told that we're at 50% capacity in our wastewater treatment plant. And I'm getting a nod, again, that is accurate. And that we continue to have hydrologists tell us that our aquifer is healthy and abundant and able to provide for all of our services. And so you and I just briefly commented on that going on your transparency page, so I'm hoping you'll put that on there for us.
Yeah, if Public Works would like to prepare, I don't know, a white paper, document, whatever information, however many pages you would like, then yeah, we can put that on there. Thank you, Councilor Williams. Also, thank you for bringing up that telephone pole, because it is a complete mind mess when you drive by there and you want to freak out thinking that something's about to happen. Councilor Allgood.
I don't have anything tonight.
Thank you, Councilor Allgood. Councilor Dittenber. Councilor Tillmont.
Just one quick. At our last golf board meeting, golf board was really kind of surprised when we were going through budgets. We did it a little early just because of budget coming up. They remarked, and I've heard it from Senior Center, I've heard it from a couple of people, that since we've switched to spreading around admin fees, everybody's admin fees have gone up. So they're all wondering where their money's going. It would be nice to see, Braylon unfortunately isn't here tonight, but they were requesting, and it wouldn't be bad to see a more detailed breakdown of what exactly they're paying for. That's what they would like to see. Especially them being an enterprise fund, they would like to see a little bit more detail of what it is that admin money to City Hall is actually paying for. So, just wanted to relay that to you.
I'll send an email tonight. It'll schedule to send for tomorrow for 8 a.m. so it doesn't wake anyone
Yeah,
up.
just one of the things that the board had requested.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
And just golf or others? You said Senior Center?
I've heard it, and yeah, some people have asked just because those numbers have changed and they just see it as an admin fee. So it's one of those, I've heard other departments talk about it. It's just one of those that is out there that would be nice to see a little bit more of a
Yeah, we'll
breakdown.
We'll get a clarification.
If possible.
I do know that it goes to pay for finance and others, but yeah, we can get a breakdown for you.
So, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Tillmont. Councilor Stoddard.
Admin fees are always questionable. Have been for years. Anyway, I'd just like to thank all those who attended the last two ceremonies that we had out at Caldwell Veterans Memorial Hall. You were the guest host at the Carrie French dedication of the statue, and that went very well. And also last weekend we had the community thank you barbecue, and that went very well too. We had a lot of attendance. So anyway, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. That was great. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councilor Stoddard. And it was a wonderful opportunity. Some people apparently did get freaked out by the flag retirement process. So I think there's gonna be a little more of an explanation on that soon. So thank you for being there. Councilor Register.
Yeah, thank you. Just really quickly, I am just wanting to comment a little bit on the denial of the appointment of Dennis Stack. I do feel like there should be a reason. I went back and looked at his resume and cover letter, and unless there's something going on that I don't know about, I just wanted the community to know that I don't know him very well. However, he did run for office, and I believe he was very respectful during that process. I went back and looked at his resume. He was a farmer, a teacher. He served in the National Guard. He has a master's, a bachelor's, and 2 associates. So I'm not seeing any reason to deny him, except we've already, the majority of council, I should say, has already denied 2 of the mayor's requests for planning and zoning people. And so it's starting to look like we're just going to deny everything that the mayor is putting out there. I think we need to really take to heart what the original speaker tonight during public comments said, and start listening. But also, when you deny something or somebody and the answer is that you choose not to give a reason, it's not just for council to have that reason, it's for the community. And when you have a vote of 4-2 on a denial like that, then it feels like there might have been conversations before this meeting, and that to me is concerning. But also because the community should be privy to those discussions as well. So I just wanted to put that out there, and I hope that that doesn't continue. Again, unless there was something else going on, I don't know that we have had a better candidate than this one. And so I'm just disappointed that he was denied, but also that there was no discussion revolving it because you chose not to give it a reason. So I believe you're cheating the community from having those conversations. And I certainly hope that we're not simply denying things because you don't like the mayor. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Councilor Register, for that. Just for some follow-up, when we talk about people wanting to be involved in their city government, it's highly encouraged, and I've heard people say in the past, to get involved, to volunteer. This is a great way to do that. When I looked at Mr. Stack's record too, I know that going back there was concerns, brought up before on prior applicants. We discussed that, moved on to, the next applicant, which well-educated, well-involved. So I do it was disappointing, but it's the will of the council with that. I encourage applicants to still apply for positions. When you see open commissions, boards, we have a lot of different ones. You can follow that on our website, so be a part. I know there's often complaints about people complaining online, but what a better way to be involved when you actually come volunteer and sign up, hoping you get to be a part of your community and your government. With that, just following up on Councilor Stoddick's, the Carrie French Memorial and the community barbecue. It was a wonderful opportunity. There were so many great people there, various folks from not only in the city but outside of the city, and we appreciate those that do come into our city, use our services, our veterans from around the area. I believe there was someone that drove 15 hours, I believe it was, to come to the barbecue. So that was quite a drive for such a special event. I also do want to give a shout out to all those volunteers that helped with that. Of course, we had our artisan fair here in Memorial Park this weekend. That was a great opportunity. There was the Latino market. If you haven't had a chance to attend that, we did have an unfortunate incident that we've released a statement that is absolutely unacceptable, that a attack would occur here in the city, period, especially someone's a couple wonderful gentlemen in our city here that were just trying to go have a good time, and unfortunately that didn't happen. And I do want to thank our police department, who was quick to respond, and any medical personnel that responded to take care of them. It's a very horrible incident, and we look forward to the work that the police is doing, the prosecutor's office, to make sure that is carried through court and such. Additionally, we do have a joint session tomorrow with county. It's posted, correct, Madam Clerk? And I just wanted to do a quick update just to give council regarding the budget discussions surrounding what was the proposed, supposed to be a chief of staff position. Just to give a quick background, early in my administration, our finance director brought the possibility of adding a position to help support the growing demands of the mayor's office in the city. As many people know, serving as mayor is an extremely busy job that involves not only managing city matters, but also advocating for Caldwell state level, working with our local and regional partners, meeting with businesses, community organizations, and addressing the many day-to-day responsibilities that come with this growing great city of Caldwell. As we consider the idea, and I spoke with various individuals, including other staff, I learned that a similar request had been made the previous year by the mayor, and of course was not approved. We held a meeting involving HR, finance, and a legal staff member to discuss the position, look at the duties and responsibilities and the pay. That time, it was originally listed as a chief operating officer. I directed staff to change that chief of staff title, and we modified some of those duties. It's also advised at that time to consider a city administrator model, but I did not support that approach. It's not the structure used by neighboring cities like Boise, Meridian, Nampa, and others in our area, and it was never my intention, just so you guys know, to pursue a city administrator position, especially with the duties and titles. I then directed several duties, including the draft job description be removed or modified. My goal was to create a more limited chief of staff position that would provide support to the mayor's office while maintaining the existing organizational structure of the city. When the proposed budget was later presented during the budget discussions, the position appeared incorrectly as a city administrator with a salary package of, I believe it was approximately $206,000. That was not what I intended, and it was significantly higher than I would have supported. After learning of this, we changed the position title back to chief of staff and reduced the compensation accordingly. As budget discussions continued last week, out of respect to the council, the direction became clear that due to budget and such, we're not going to support this position this time. In response, just so you know, we've removed that position for the upcoming. To be clear, I did not support creating a city administrator position, nor did I support the compensation level as presented. I do believe that a chief of staff position could be beneficial as Caldwell continues to grow. the position has been removed from the budget, and I want to correct the record, just how this was unfolded, and I apologize for that. Going on as a city administrator, I should have been a chief of staff, but once again, we respect your guys' direction, we will remove that. Other than that, there's a lot of great things going on in the city right now. Our downtown overlays look amazing. We have extra parking spots. We're working on grass, bark, weeds, and a lot of other things. So with that, just follow along. We got 4th of July on our city Facebook page. Follow along. You'll see a bunch of different advertisements for events and such. And just thank staff. We have so much great things going on in our city. We have great staff that work hard day in, day out. And thank you, counselors, for all the extra hours you're putting in last week, the week before, this week, and in future weeks with budget and such. So with that, last item of business is an executive session. I would entertain a motion to entertain executive session, or to enter executive session.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Allgood.
I move that we enter into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 74-206, 1, parentheses B, parentheses D, and parentheses F.
All right, there's a motion for executive session under those parentheses. Second. Motion is second. All those in favor?
You guys all logged out?
No.
Thank you, Jeff.
Hey, I didn't either. I get an attaboy.
Tillmont? I'm trying to get back. It's too late. Well.
No, I'm going.
Are you a yes? Yes. Mike, are you a yes?
Probably.
Perfect. Everyone else was responsible.
Counselor Register?
She voted.
Oh, okay. We are now in executive session. Thank you for coming tonight.